Chapter 666. When Ouyang Yen saw Qin Fian's actions, her face immediately turned pale. Do you think I'm dirty? Qin Fian glanced over at the woman sitting on the ground and sneered. Oh, don't flatter yourself like this. I don't need to dislike you. It's just that I don't like to touch women. I'm gay. The mineral water bottle in her hand was a little straight, and the water kept flowing unevenly. When the water poured onto the watch, she was shocked. It's over. Water got in. You're making a fuss over nothing. You don't even know how to deal with it at the specialty store. Not only are you gay, but you're also an idiot. Ouyang Yen was angry with Qin Fian. Qin Fian threw the bottle into the trash can and took off the watch from his wrist. He gently wiped the watch's face and back cover with a folded handkerchief in his pocket. He despised Ouyang Yen for not knowing the market. What do you know? This is a fake watch. You. Ouyang Yen was so angry that she stopped talking to Qin Fian. I'm not in the mood to tease you anymore. I'm here to tell you that there are 2 DNA tests. One of them is the bastard in your belly, and the other is my brother's. You can find a professional to compare them. The embryo sample is still very well preserved. You can also do a test with your own. This way, you'll know if anyone has tampered with the embryo. That thing is yours, but it's not my brother's. Next time, I should specifically charge you with hindering marriage and send a woman like you to prison. Qin Fian looked at the watch in his hand and was a little angry. By the way, if you're angry, tear it up. This is a copy. The original is with me. If you want 10,000 copies to show off at home, I'm willing to pay for them. Bang! The door was slammed shut. Qin Fian left. Ouyang Yen knew that if it wasn't for the fact that the fake watch got in water and made him angry, he would have humiliated her for a long time. The floor was a little cold, and the cold air went straight into her bones. It was like a poisonous snake that caught hold of her and bit her until she felt pain all over her body. When Ouyang Xing came in and saw Ouyang Yen sleeping on the floor, he panicked and helped her up. Yun, what's wrong? The floor is cold. You can't sleep on the floor. Do you know that you've had surgery? What I did wasn't a surgery. Qin Fian's words were vicious, but he was right. What kind of surgery was it? Painless for a minute? It was funny. She was now a joke in everyone's eyes. At night 9th mansion, Jiang Zhao's house. Jiang Zhao placed the DNA report in front of Yi Er. Yunyi, can you be completely relieved now? Yi Er could only let out all the gloominess in her heart. I can finally be completely at ease. Everyone was selfish. When they were selfish, they would realize that they were unusually cold-blooded towards others. Yi Er no longer felt guilty for Ouyang Yen. She just felt that this child no longer had anything to do with her life. It wasn't Jiang Zhao's child. Ouyang Yen came to provoke her, and it was her own fault for having a miscarriage. At least, she and Jiang Zhao didn't have to bear a debt of conscience. Actually, even if it was Jiang Zhao's child, she couldn't wait to have a miscarriage. At that point, if they couldn't separate, if they couldn't bear to part with each other, she could only hope that there would be less obstacles between them. Otherwise, how could she be at ease? Yi Er collapsed in Jiang Zhao's arms. Ah Zhao, it's finally over. He stroked the back of the woman in his arms. If this woman hadn't married him at such a young age, she could only be called a girl now. No one could predict the changes and encounters in life. After alighting from this stop, the journey was peaceful. But I met you at the next stop, and it became my misfortune. Their lips were pressed together, soft and long. They weren't in a hurry to break this moment of peace. They enjoyed the throbbing and sense of security brought about by the contact of their lips. At 11 p.m. In the forest in the suburbs of High City, a dark figure was hiding under a tree. The man opened a bag and took out a piece of bread. He roughly tore open the wrapping paper and wolfed it down. He then took out a bottle of mineral water, twisted it open, and poured the water into his mouth, which was still full of unchewed bread. After a few mouthfuls, he finally felt more at ease. He took out his phone and dialed a number based on his memory. He was hung up once, so he dialed again. Finally, the call was picked up. The person on the other end of the line had been processed. There was a strong electronic noise, but he could still hear the impatience in his tone. "Why are you calling me?" The disheveled man said, "I'm being looked for by the army now. I need to hide. Help me arrange a place." The person on the other end couldn't help but laugh. "Hide? Why should I help you arrange a place? The life I bought was Yunyi, but you went to be the family Min's illegitimate daughter. What happened to you has nothing to do with me." The man suddenly became agitated and stood up abruptly. "But my brother got into trouble because he went to be Yunyi." The person on the other end of the line was self-righteous. When he spoke, he didn't lose the agitation of the disheveled man at all. "So what? He took my money, and I paid him in full in one go. Things can't be resolved, and you still want to pursue responsibility. The body I want is still shuttling through the streets of Haicheng. You still have the cheek to ask me to arrange a place for you?" The disheveled man gritted his teeth with hatred. Fine, fine, fine. Don't blame me for being heartless. Ha! You want to turn yourself in? And then give me up? Ha! You're so childish. You keep saying that you want to avenge your brother, but you don't even have the ability to do that. You still have the cheek to say that there's no business you don't dare to accept. Trash. Although the man knew that the person on the other end of the line was deliberately provoking him, he still fell for it. Who said that? Your actions said so. Your actions and results say everything. You don't deserve your reputation. I don't care about spending this little bit of money. What's this little bit of money to me? It's just a drop in the ocean. I won't even blink if you ask me to pay 10 times the price. But do you have the ability to do that? You can't even kill a weak woman, and now you've provoked the army. You still dare to say that you'll accept any business? If I kill Yunyi, will you pay 10 times the price of my brother? Spread the news of Yunye's death, and the money will be transferred to your account immediately. Deal. Ha, don't boast too early. I've heard too much. Let's see the results. *T. After hanging up, the man pinched the bread and put it in his mouth again. He took a big bite and carelessly drank with the mineral water in his mouth. His gaze was fixed on the night lights of High City, and the mineral water bottle in his hand made cracking sounds. In the residential area of South Jiayuan, there was still a window that was lit at 3 in the morning. This was Zhou Li's residence. Pia, there was a crisp slap. Yuan Shichang raised his hand and landed it on Zhou Li's face. Zhou Li couldn't withstand such a strong force and fell down by the bed in the master bedroom. At this time, she was still wearing her pajamas. She couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, so she got out of bed to pour herself a glass of water. Yuan Shichang was woken up and muttered something to her. She fiercely retorted. Such a stubborn temper angered Yuan Shichang. If our son doesn't come back, I've never seen you so arrogant in front of Yunyi and Jiang Zhao. So what if he doesn't come back? Isn't it because you can't give birth? Do you have to be like this if you can give birth? This sentence touched Yuan Shichang's bottom line. No man would want to have a problem with their reproductive function. It seemed to have poked at his fragile self-esteem, so Yuan Shichang jumped out of bed and gave Zhou Li a slap. You're such a slut. If it weren't for our old relationship, there would be so many young girls out there. Do you think I would care about you? Zhou Li. This is what you call being shameless when I give you face. Get the F***ck out of here tomorrow. This house is written in your name. I can make sure you don't get it. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 667. Zhou Li covered her burning face and looked incredulously at the man who was looking at her with hatred. Yuan Shichang, you hit me? You actually hit me? Yes, I hit you. What right do you have to hit me? Zhou Li frowned tightly. A crack slowly opened in her heart. What right do I have? Who do you think you are? You're not my wife. Why should I spoil you? Isn't it because you gave birth to a son for me? Now that I can't even get my son back, you still have the face to be arrogant in front of me. Not your wife. You said that the person you love is me, not Zhou Yan. But she's better at running a household than you. Do you think I'll divorce Zhou Yan and marry you? Why would I marry you? Help me run such a big household. Other than being defeated, what else can you do? Ah. How are you better than Zhou Yan? At least Zhou Yan is more obedient than you. You only know how to flirt. Slut. Yuan Shichang. Zhou Li couldn't listen anymore. She stood up with the help of the bed and rushed toward Yuan Shichang to hit him. I'll fight you. Get lost. How could Zhou Li be Yuan Shichang's opponent? She was pushed down in an instant. The more Zhou Li resisted, the harder Yuan Shichang hit her. The corner of her mouth was soon bleeding from the slap. This was Zhou Li's first unforgettable soft body injury since she was born. In fact, the pain it brought to her heart was indescribable. She never had a lack of suitors. When Yun Hongwei pursued her, he also spent a lot of effort. However, the person she loved was Yuan Shichang. Back then, she married Yun Hongwei to anger Yuan Shichang. Therefore, Yuan Shichang wasn't a man she flirted with after marriage. But now, in Yuan Shichang's eyes, she had become a slut. If my son doesn't come back, I'll kill you. Zhou Li, I'll definitely kill you. Early in the morning, the sky was still dark. There was only a bit of misty light. The Qin residence was already busy at 5:00. Master woke up very early as usual, no different from the past. However, Qin Rongfang called Jiang Zhao and Yi back to the mansion early. This was the first time that Jiang Zhao and Yi had been called back so early. Qin Rongfang had been very uneasy after knowing the results of the DNA test. Old people didn't sleep much. At this time, he couldn't close his eyes for the whole night. He knew that his 3 grandsons were in cahoots, and they had smoothed things out from the beginning to the end. Step by step, they worked together seamlessly. His son-in-law obviously knew that Zhua Hao was using his connections in the army to look for someone, but he turned a blind eye and didn't ask. He knew that his son-in-law had always been upright and straightforward. If someone bullied his son, it was already his limit for him to not use his connections to take revenge. Zhua Haofei helped Jiang Zhao unravel the entire situation. He had no objections. What should be cleared had to be cleared. He knew that they were all young, impulsive, and hot-blooded. Since Jiang Zhao secretly dealt with the Ouyang family, he knew that his grandson would not be able to swallow this. Now that the results of the DNA test were out, he felt that he had been wronged. His means of revenge were even more severe than before. Although the family Ouyang and the Qin family had quarreled, Ouyang Xing didn't do anything wrong after leaving the Qin residence that day. He even showed goodwill. Although he didn't believe that Ouyang Xing really wanted to show goodwill, he was always on guard. But if he wanted to do something to Ouyang Yan, this matter wouldn't be so easy to solve. The family Ouyang was a huge family. It wasn't easy to shake them. In addition, once this matter was out, Jiang Zhao definitely couldn't run away. The doctor confessed everything about receiving a check from Ouyang Yan. However, if he were to sue Ouyang Yan, then the fact that Jiang Zhao had been caught naked in the Ouyang family, as well as the fact that he had intentionally used violence to cause Ouyang Yan to miscarry, would not be able to be covered up. After all, the family Ouyang wasn't a small courtyard. They didn't have the ability to make this matter known to everyone. If they really made a fuss, Lai Qing's positive image and the Jiang family's strong foundation would be affected. In this way, it would become a lose-lose situation. He could tolerate letting the Ouyang Yan go, but he couldn't ruin Jiang Zhao's future and the Jiang family's status because of Ouyang Yan. This move would affect the entire Jiang and Qin clans. When Yi Er and Jiang Zhao arrived at the Qin residence, the kitchen had already prepared breakfast. Plain porridge and side dishes were Qin Rongfang's standard. At his age, he needed to take care of his body. Money couldn't buy him weight loss. He always insisted on not making his body acidic. Qin Fian rarely stayed at the Qin residence, so the breakfast was prepared according to Qin Rongfang's preferences and standards. But not long after the meal, Qin Rongfang looked at Yi Er, who was slowly eating porridge and side dishes, and then turned to Uncle Wu. He said, "Old Wu, go get 2 free-range eggs for the Yi girl." Yi Er waved his hand. "Grandfather, no need. I've had enough." Qin Rongfang held the small bowl of porridge in his left hand and the bowl in his right. His wrist was on the table. At this time, the light above the table was very bright, illuminating his white hair. His eyebrows were like snow, and his eyes were full of love. "Yi Er, grandfather is old and usually eats bland food. I haven't eaten things like eggs, which are high in protein, for a long time. Even if I eat them, it's not good for digestion. This has become a habit. Look at me, I called you over today to prepare a new breakfast, but I forgot to inform old Wu. Look at me, I've already prepared the food I usually eat. I should have prepared some nutritious breakfast for you. It's too late to prepare now. Add 2 eggs and eat it." "Grandfather, no need, no need. I also have plain porridge and side dishes for breakfast at home." "How can that be? You've been married for so long. It's time for you to prepare for a child. Grandfather isn't rushing you. You're still young, but Zhao Zhao isn't young." Qin Rongfang saw Yi Er blushing and lowering his head, so he quickly said, "There's no rush. Take care of your wife first. Only when your body is better will the baby be healthy." Jiang Zhao coughed twice. Thinking about the bottle of contraceptive pills in the drawer, he spoke up for Yi Er. "Grandfather, you're too much. How am I old? Also, think about it. Father is still in the hospital and Yunyi has to manage the shop and go to school. She really doesn't have the energy." Yi Er tilted his head and looked at Jiang Zhao. He was a little disappointed. However, when he thought about it, how could he have the energy to have a child now? There were so many things waiting for him. When Qin Rongfang heard Jiang Zhao's words, he could only give up. After a while, the boiled eggs were placed on the table. Qin Rongfang told Yi Er to eat quickly. "It's okay if you don't want a child now. Young people still have to eat an egg a day. Don't eat plain porridge and side dishes every day. You can't lose weight. Young people consume more energy than us old people. You have to replenish more nutrients. Tomorrow, I'll get the old maid here to teach you how to make some nutritious breakfast." Yi Er knew that it was useless to refuse. Grandfather had always done whatever he said. Moreover, grandfather had never used his brain to beat around the bush over such a small matter. He nodded obediently. After the meal, Qin Rongfang sat at the head of the table as usual. Yi Er and Jiang Zhao sat opposite each other. The seat next to them was empty. They could see the servants come in to serve them mouthwash. "Zhao Zhao, I called you and Yi Er over for breakfast so early today because I wanted to tell you not to pursue the matter about Ouyang Yan anymore." Jiang Zhao was stunned. "Grandfather? I know you've been wronged, but it won't do you any good if this matter blows up," Qin Rongfang said slowly and unhurriedly. Jiang Zhao suddenly felt that this meal was a little funny. When he shook his head to vent his anger, he sneered lightly and finally said, "Grandfather, do you know how angry I've been over this matter for the past few months? I've done everything I could. It was Ouyang Yan who forced me." Yesterday, the doctor also confessed that Ouyang Yan gave him a large sum of money and asked him to find a DNA technician to change the test results. She insisted that the child was mine. How could I let her off so easily? Qin Rongfang was the most rational person there. When Yi Er looked at the head of the table, she saw that Qin Rongfang was looking at her meaningfully. He did not look at Jiang Zhao, who was indignant and protesting. He smiled gently. With the family Ouyang's power, if they really want to do anything to Ouyang Yan, even if they take her to court, don't tell me you want to secretly find someone to kill her. You wouldn't do such a thing, right? Yi Er trembled. She was so frightened that her hands were trembling. Grandfather, I didn't think of that. Jiang Zhao suddenly stood up. Grandfather, don't scare Yun Yi. Look at me when you talk. Qin Rongfang tilted his head and looked at Jiang Zhao. He still had a gentle smile on his face. He raised his skinny hand and gestured for Jiang Zhao to sit down. Jiang Zhao sat down again. Zhao Zhao, will you find someone to kill Ouyang Yan? Impossible. Jiang Zhao thought that his grandfather must have taken the wrong medicine. Then we can only go to court, but this road will be very difficult. The doctor did not withdraw the check that Ouyang Yan gave out. Let's not talk about this for now. There is a cause and effect to this matter. The earliest cause is that you slept with her. This matter, no one can say for sure. Being set up. We all know that we were set up, but where is the evidence? We need evidence when we go to court. But there is one thing. Ouyang Yan had a miscarriage because of your violence. You will not be able to bring her down, but you will be charged with intentional injury. If Ouyang Xing decides to go all out and make it known that Ouyang Yan had a miscarriage because of you, even if the public says that Ouyang Yan is shameless, the Jiang family's reputation as the #1 red family in the East that has been built up for several generations will be completely destroyed because of this. Zhao Zhao, you know that your brother is a businessman. There have been many women who have been involved in scandals before, but has there ever been a woman who jumped out and said that he is a good-for-nothing? Moreover, you are in politics. Your father is the commander of our military region. So, Ouyang Yan, you can't use this method to deal with her. Although your father and mother are divorced, your grandfather and I have always thought that the Jiang and Qin families are in-laws. Zhao Zhao, everyone in this family can't ruin the whole family for their own sake. Beauty Novel, Hung Cha 866. Chapter 668. Yi Er watched as Jiang Zhao's shoulders drooped bit by bit. He also knew the reason behind his grandfather's words. How could such a family only have personal grudges to weigh? It's impossible to let it go just like that. Jiang Zhao said softly, Ouyang Yan is a scourge outside. All day long, her mind is filled with thoughts of taking advantage of loopholes. She used all the methods of those criminals on me. I can't just let her do as she pleases. It's temporary. It has to be resolved eventually. Qin Rongfang said, I'll call you 3 brothers back for a meal another day. Then, we'll talk about the best way to resolve this matter. Jiang Zhao rested his elbow on the table and held his forehead with his hand. His head was lowered. What about Ouyang Yu? The credit card was applied for through his connections. This has already hurt my personal interests. This can be considered to be able to deal with him, right? He still remembered the sorrowful expression on Yi Er's face when he said that the Ouyang Yan used his card. That credit card with his name on it almost destroyed the trust between him and Yi Er. The Ouyang Yan's intention to drive a wedge between them was too dirty. If it wasn't for Ouyang Yu's deep background in the bank, how could it be so easy for the Ouyang Yan to apply for his credit card? Let's hold back for now. We won't be able to deal with him that way. What I mean is to ask your grandfather to tell him to stop the current investigation of Ouyang Yu and let him resume his position. Ouyang Xing's current financial problems are probably a little big. He hinted to me to invest. If Ouyang Yu's position as president is restored, the funds can be approved. At that time, Ouyang Xing won't let go of such an opportunity. We'll bite him until he can't make a comeback. Jiang Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. Grandfather, are you agreeing to let me deal with the Ouyang family? Not you. It's our Qin family and the Jiang family together. No one in the family can fight alone. Jiang Zhao's lips curled into a smile. He spread his arms as if he was doing a big stretch. Grandpa, you've finally thought it through. No matter how much I think about it, I can't combine the futures of the Jiang and Qin families. Everything has to be done at the right time. You have to understand. Grandfather, I understand. There was a short period of unhappiness in the conversation, but it passed quickly. When Jiang Zhao left with Yi Er, it was still early. He knew that too many things had happened these few days. Moreover, he remembered very clearly what Xiaoya said. It was very dangerous during this period, he couldn't let Yi Er go to the store. The enemy was in the dark, while she was in the light. What if they wanted her life? Thinking of the wounds on Qing Su's body, Jiang Zhao's body trembled. At this time, the fog had dissipated a little. The morning rush hour was about to arrive, and business at the newsstand was very good. Yi Er bought a newspaper and got back into Jiang Zhao's car. The car drove slowly to number 9 mansion. Jiang Zhao said to Yi Er while driving, "Don't open the door casually when you get home. If someone rings the bell, you must look through the peephole first." Yi Er flipped through the newspaper irritably. "Got it, Auntie Jiang." Jiang Zhao's face darkened. Was she complaining that he was nagging again? "Yun Yi. Are you asking for a beating?" Yi Er looked at the newspaper and didn't speak for a long time. Jiang Zhao was suspicious. This woman really didn't take him seriously. She was getting more and more arrogant. The better he treated her, the less she took him seriously. In the past, he used to order her around, but now he listened to her. Just as he was about to shout again, he tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He wanted to raise his voice, but Yi Er suddenly opened the newspaper and pushed it in front of him. "Move to the side. Read the newspaper." "What newspaper?" "I'm driving." "Read it for me." Jiang Zhao ordered Yi Er like a boss. Yi Er gulped down a mouthful of air. Her cheeks were puffed up. She glared at Jiang Zhao, shook the newspaper, and read it. Fashion designer Xiao Yaqiu's marriage announcement. Jiang Zhao was puzzled. "Hiss." He snorted. Yi Er nodded and continued, "Female, 25 years old, 166 centimeters tall, body shape. She is now in debt and owes 40 million yuan. She is sincerely looking for a partner. She is a man in his 30s who can help her pay off her debt." Stop. Stop reading. Jiang Zhao licked his lips. He knew that Zhuang Yichen had backfired this time. But who in Haicheng would dare to help Qiu Xiaoya pay off her debt? There were probably a lot of people who wanted to help her pay off her 40 million yuan debt. He was just afraid that they wouldn't be able to spend the money. "Hubby, didn't you say that Sister Xiaoya is with Zhuang Yichen?" Yi Er was afraid that she wasn't clear-headed enough and needed to confirm it with Jiang Zhao. Xiaoya had even made her personal phone number public. She even wrote, "Do not disturb me if you are not sincere." Yes. Then why does Sister Xiaoya owe so much money? She was fine a few days ago. Why didn't she look for Zhuang Yichen? Why did she sell herself to pay off her debt? Did she break up with Zhuang Yichen? Jiang Zhao didn't know how to answer. He couldn't blame others for thinking that way. It wasn't as if Qiu Xiaoya hadn't looked for Zhuang Yichen, but Zhuang Yichen refused to help. If that wasn't a breakup, then what was? Qingfeng Garden was a high-rise duplex. The environment was beautiful and quiet, and it was considered a high-end neighborhood. A ray of silver light flew into Qingfeng Garden. Today, the person driving the silver Bugatti wasn't Li Yong, but Zhuang Yichen. He controlled the brakes and the accelerator alternately. Very good. He controlled the brakes extremely well. People who saw this car couldn't help but want to avoid it. They were afraid that they would be unlucky enough to crash into it and end up in a car accident. Xiaoya was still sleeping. Her phone had been ringing since early in the morning. They were all applications. Later on, she got annoyed and simply switched it to silent mode. Anyway, she was now a woman with no one to care about and no one to work. She should have a good sleep. It would be best if she slept until the sky turned dark. Zhuang Yichen opened the car door with a newspaper. He stepped out of the car and slammed the door shut. He went into the building and pressed the elevator button. He went upstairs and exited the elevator. When he took out the key to open the door, he realized that it was locked from the inside. Tugging at the tie around his neck, he clenched his fist and slammed it on the door. His handsome face was so cold that it seemed to have frozen. Xiaoya put on a sleeping robe. The person who slammed her door so rudely must be very rude. It wasn't the weekend, so it couldn't be her mother. She got out of bed lazily. When she walked into the living room, she said impatiently, "What are you doing? It's so early in the morning. Can't you let me sleep?" She pressed the door lock and realized that she had locked the door. She was used to locking the door from the inside. She woke up a little and looked out the peephole. She saw a face that was as cold as ice. However, this ice cube's eyes were burning with fire. How creative. Just as she was about to ignore him and go back to sleep, she heard Zhuang Yichen slamming the door with his fist again. "Qiu Xiaoyao. Why aren't you opening the door now? I'll get someone to tear it down immediately." Xiaoya knew that she couldn't afford to offend Zhuang Yichen. However, when did this man become so rude? He even slammed the door. He even tore down the door. She opened the door and stood at the door. She crossed her arms and said lazily, "It's so noisy so early in the morning. If you can't sleep, go to work." Zhuang Yichen threw the newspaper in his hand at Xiaoya. He narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Xiaoya didn't even look at him. She turned around and entered the house. "Can't you tell what I mean?" Zhuang Yichen followed her in and locked the door. "Qiu Xiaoyao, you're quite brave." Xiaoya fell onto the sofa and hugged a pillow. She ignored the man who was trying to suppress his anger. "Why wouldn't I dare? You, on the other hand, are you related to me? Why are you here so early in the morning to meddle in my private affairs? Why are you so kind?" Zhuang Yichen leaned over and reached out to pinch Xiaoya's chin. "Qiu Xiaoyao, have you forgotten who you belong to now?" Xiaoya frowned in pain. However, she couldn't break free, so she let this rude man do as he pleased. "I belong to myself. We said goodbye a few months ago. You said that you would give me the house if we broke up. You're not someone who cares about two houses. However, according to what we said 4 years ago, if I was the one who broke up with you, I can't take back the house. I won't let you solve any problems in my career, so I'll return the house to you." When Xiaoya spoke, there was no fluctuation in her voice. He couldn't tell that she was agitated. In fact, she knew that it wasn't that she didn't want to be agitated. However, she could only be agitated in front of this man. If you were agitated in front of someone who didn't care about you, you would only lower yourself. "Very good," the corner of Zhuang Yichen's mouth twitched. He had just gotten up a little. Xiaoya thought that he was going to let her go, but his other hand started to pull open her nightgown. He smiled evilly, but his eyes were cold. "Qiu Xiaoyao, I forgot to tell you. That was the agreement from 4 years ago, but it's already in our first year. The last time we broke up, it ended. Later on, when you were under me again, you no longer had the right to choose. This relationship can only be stopped if I say so." "Ah! Bastard, let go of me." Jiang Zhao sent Yi Er back to 9th Mansion. He reminded her that if she wanted to care about Xiaoya's matters, it wasn't impossible to appease her. She could call Xiaoya over, but she couldn't go out. Yi Er agreed to everything. Jiang Zhao returned to the building. The moment he sat down, Lu Qing poured him a cup of tea. He didn't wait until it was time for a work report before he said, "Boss, Yun Hongwei's case can only be treated on parole. There's no possibility of a comeback." Jiang Zhao's hand that had just picked up the teacup froze. "But from what we knew in the past, he was just a scapegoat." Lu Qing said calmly, "But last night, Chen Tong asked me out. Later on, he accidentally mentioned that Yun Hongwei had given him a sum of 7 million yuan as activity funds back then." Jiang Zhao slowly put down the teacup in his hand. His eyes grew darker and darker. He stared at Lu Cheng without blinking and said with a hidden meaning, Lu Cheng, did something happen to you recently? Come and see, Xinwu 799. Chapter 669. Jiang Zhao noticed the look in Lu Cheng's eyes, but he did not say anything. Lu Cheng, we had made it very clear last time. I know who you are working for, but you have chosen to betray me. What's the use of pulling out now? Boss, there's no such thing. I'm just reporting the information I've received. Jiang Zhao smiled and nodded. His intuition told him that there was danger everywhere. He was afraid that there would be another wave of trouble. Okay, I will consider the information you gave me. Since Yun Hongwei is suspected of bribery, then we can only follow the rules. Jiang Zhao said. He opened the drawer on his right and took out a pen. Go back to work. Postpone the meeting for 15 minutes. Okay. After Lu Cheng left, Jiang Zhao stood up from his seat. He slowly paced back and forth in the office. His steps were light and slow, as if he was walking on a chessboard. He had never stopped thinking that the road to politics was a thorny road. Between colleagues, between superiors and subordinates, between officials and businessmen, between officials and the people, this was a game of chess, a battlefield. He always knew what it meant to take every step carefully. He also knew how to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. He also knew how to make good use of people. He also knew that the most difficult thing to buy was people's hearts. Although Lu Cheng had betrayed him a long time ago, he was still one of Chen Tong's men. He had never let down his guard, even if Yi Er's good friend was Lu Cheng's girlfriend. Because in Jiang Zhao's eyes, in this world, other than family, there were no eternal friends. There were only fair and equal exchanges. Lu Cheng lied. At the same time, he also provided him with a piece of information. Yun Hongwei's case might be strange. In fact, he was very tired of being tied up by this matter. If Yun Hongwei was just an ordinary boss who was not involved in the power struggle, as long as the people above him did not get into trouble, there would not be any problems with a mere bribery. The reason why this matter had not been resolved until now was because the background of the previous mayor was too deep. The previous mayor had offended someone from the central government. There was no way the peanuts would be clean and clean. Who would believe this? The soil that was pulled out naturally had to be shaken clean by the person who pulled out this nest of peanuts. If it wasn't shaken clean, it had to be washed in water. Otherwise, how could it be sold for a good price? How could they so easily declare Yun Hongwei innocent? If they wanted to clear Yun Hongwei's name, they would have to drag the thread all the way to the central government. No matter how deep the Jiang family's background was in the east, and no matter how great the Qin family's influence was in High City, it would be like throwing an egg at a rock if they were to fight with those at the top of the pyramid of power. So even though Grandpa and Grandpa had expressed their intention to help Yi Er get his father out at the beginning, they gradually fell silent. He knew very well that he could not touch this nest of nests. He had been thinking of ways to get around the edges and take advantage of loopholes. He wanted to slowly reduce the sentence and then find someone to execute it outside the prison. After another 2 to 3 years, no one would notice. This was the only way. Yi Er might not be clear about this matter, but Lu Cheng definitely knew about it. Everyone was in this business and had the ability to know the weather from the clouds. Now, what was the meaning of bringing up the matter of Yun Hongwei's bribery of 7 million yuan? Did it mean that they could not touch Chen Tong? Or was it something else? Yi Er was watching DVDs at home. They were all award-winning dance videos. She lay on the sofa and followed the movements on the TV, stretching her waist. Jiang Zhao said that she was not allowed to go out if he was not home. She had to visit her father at night and he would come back to pick her up. She was not allowed to go out alone in the future. She knew that he was worried. Even if he was worried about the shop, she would still listen to him. The doorbell rang. Yi Er remembered Jiang Zhao's instructions. At this moment, her heart suddenly thumped nervously. She put on her slippers and patted her chest. She straightened her back and looked out through the peephole. The corners of her mouth curled up as she cheerfully opened the door. Zheng Ling. Zheng Ling, who was wearing a baseball cap, stood at the door cautiously. He was holding an oversized fruit basket in his hands. Fresh and tempting fruits were wrapped in transparent plastic. One look and one could tell that they were expensive and were all imported. Yi Er jumped out and grabbed Zheng Ling's hand to drag him into the house. Come in, come in. Zheng Ling smiled a little embarrassedly. He changed his shoes as he entered the house and said, Yi Er, I'm sorry. I couldn't come when you got married and moved. Today, I brought a fruit basket to see you. Don't mind it. Yi Er glared at Zheng Ling. She leaned against the cabinet in the shoe-changing area and watched him change his shoes. If you dare say that, I'll tear your mouth out. Ha, you can't bear to. Zheng Ling personally handed the fruit basket to Yi Er and smiled. Don't mind it. Otherwise, it'll be useless even if you tear my mouth out. The fruit basket was heavy. Yi Er happily took it. I don't mind it. A basket costs a few thousand RMB. Even if you don't mind it, do you think I do? Although Yi Er's life is rich now, she still buys the daily fruits and vegetables at home. Just the cherries alone cost more than 400 renminbi in the fruit shop, and that's not including the other expensive fruits. Yi Er led Zheng Ling into the main house. He looked around and said, Yi Er, this is great. Your house is so big. There are many people at home. Jiang Zhao doesn't like to be too crowded, so I'll stay upstairs with him. Yi Er placed the fruit basket on the table and turned to pour Zheng Ling a glass of water. Zheng Ling looked around and saw an enlarged photo hanging behind the long sofa. Jiang Zhao was wearing a suit and Yi Er was wearing a new qipao with her hair tied up. Yi Er was holding Jiang Zhao's arm and smiling sweetly. Jiang Zhao was very handsome, and they were really a match made in heaven. The camera was very good, and the quality of the photo was good. The building behind them was blurred by the aperture, but they could still see that it was a porch pillar. It looked like a night scene. There were no professional lights or reflectors, so there were some shadows in the photo. Yi Er, why didn't you take a wedding photo? We didn't have time. This was taken on the day of our wedding. Grandpa even said that this photo was very good. It looked like his dignified granddaughter-in-law and outstanding grandson, so he took this photo to show off to his friends. We didn't take any wedding photos, so I took the initiative to enlarge this photo and make it into a mural frame. It's pretty good. Yi Er had already walked to Zheng Ling's side and pulled her to sit on the sofa. Let's drink some tea. We don't have any drinks at home. Jiang Zhao doesn't like it. Zheng Ling said, I don't really drink drinks either. Tea is the best. She looked at the photo on the wall again and felt a little regretful. I thought you didn't like my photography skills, so you didn't come to my place to take photos. Yi Er said, I'll open the fruits and wash them. Let's eat, shall we? What do you like to eat? Zheng Ling hurriedly said nervously, no need, no need. Why would I open them? I don't like to eat cold fruits in this weather. It's more comfortable to drink hot tea. Yi Er could only give up. She sat down beside Zheng Ling and crossed her legs on the sofa. She tilted her head and looked at the wedding photo on the wall. It's not because your skills are bad. It's because you really don't have time. But when Jiang Zhao is free and we have a bunch of things to worry about at home, we'll go take photos. Actually, men hate taking photos. They think it's torturous. This time, I won't let him. When the things at home are settled, I'll definitely go take a set of wedding photos. Zheng Ling nodded. Of course. This is the only time in a lifetime. Yes, this is the only time in a lifetime. This is the only time in my life. This is the only time. Yi Er smiled and looked at the photo on the wall. She said this with some determination. Looking at the man in the photo, it was as if the man's eyes were looking at her at this moment and making a promise to her. This is the only time in my life. This is the only time. Zheng Ling looked at Yi Er's side profile in a daze. She then looked at the fruit basket on the dining room table and bit her lip. She clenched and unclenched her fists. Yi Er, we've always been good friends, haven't we? Yi Er turned her head and reached out to pinch Jingling's face, revealing her white teeth. Of course, we've always been like this. If you hadn't been by my side to help me, how could I have persevered? How could I have met Jiang Zhao? In the end, you're still the matchmaker between Jiang Zhao and me. I have to get Jiang Zhao to give you a big red packet. Yi Er looked at Jingling with a relaxed expression. Looking at Jingling, she could imagine how difficult it had been for her 17-year-old self to walk step by step with the company of her friends. There were many factors in life that were indispensable. Jingling would come up with many ideas for her. She would secretly give her money behind her mother's back. She would rack her brains to help her gather information on high-ranking political officials and travel itineraries. She would force Lu Cheng to help her and share her wealth with her. She always felt that without Jingling, she wouldn't be who she was today. As she looked at Jingling, tears welled up in her eyes. She turned her head away and blinked her eyes hard. Sigh, seriously. You're only a little older, but you're getting more and more pretentious. Yi Er. Jingling suddenly hugged Yi Er's shoulders and leaned on Yi Er's shoulder. She choked and said, Yi Er, you've always been my best friend. Everything I have was given to me by you, but I couldn't help you much. I even. Yi Er turned back and patted Jingling's back to comfort her. Jingling, you've helped me a lot. Don't say that. If you say that again, I'll get angry. The two of them chatted. Yi Er wanted Jingling to stay for lunch, but Jingling said that she was very busy at the shop. She said that Jiang Zhao would get off work another night and everyone would have lunch together. Yi Er didn't want to delay Jingling's business, so she sent her all the way to the car park and watched Jingling drive off before going home. Jingling's car drove out of 9th Mansion. She parked the car by the roadside and called Lu Cheng. Her face was wet with tears as she leaned on the steering wheel and cried, Lu Cheng, I can't forgive myself for the rest of my life. I can't forgive myself. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 670. Lu Cheng's voice was a little low. This is the only way. Since you've made your choice, you can't back down. Don't call me during work hours to talk about this. I'm hanging up. After hanging up the phone, Jingling leaned against the steering wheel and sobbed. She would never forget that everything she had today was because of Yi Er. The daughter of a wealthy family looked down on people of her background, and it was even more impossible for her to be friends. However, Yi Er would not. Even if Yi Er was sympathetic, she still remembered what she had said to her mother. A drop of water should be repaid with a spring of water. But now, she was repaying kindness with evil. Yi Er called Jiang Zhao. Ah Zhao, I'm very happy today. Oh. Tell me about it. Jiang Zhao was busy reading the policy documents issued by the higher-ups. When he heard Yi Er's happy voice, he could not help but smile. With her personality, it was rare for her to be able to laugh out loud at home. It was a good thing that she was happy and willing to share it with him. Jingling came to see me today. You know, I'm afraid of Mother Zheng. We haven't played together in a long time. She even brought fruit today. Look at you. You're so happy with just a little fruit. Jiang Zhao pushed the document forward and leaned back. He put one hand behind his head and leisurely listened to his woman's boring gossip. Of course I'm happy. Jingling is very good to me. Oh right, Ah Zhao, if it wasn't for Jingling, I wouldn't have had the chance to meet you. Don't you think she's our matchmaker? Next time, you have to give her a big red packet. Okay. Okay. Yi Er kept asking, is it okay? She was a little unreasonable and willful, but her tone was full of sweetness. Jiang Zhao liked it very much. He liked Yi Er's happiness about their meeting. Okay, I'll do as you say. I'll give you as much as you want. Ha, it's your good intentions. It won't be good if I say it out loud. Seriously, if I only give you 800 yuan, will you think I'm not grateful enough? Jiang Zhao. Yi Er jumped up from the sofa and stood on it as if Jiang Zhao was standing in front of her. She put her hands on her waist and glared fiercely at the TV. Is the fact that I know you worth 800 yuan? Honey, your husband's salary. Jiang Zhao smiled as if Yi Er was standing in front of him. His gaze was soft, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He said awkwardly, your husband only makes so little money every month. I want to buy you designer bags, designer clothes, designer high heels, and designer skincare products. But if I spend my money on someone else, I won't be able to buy you these things. I'll be very sad. Jiang Zhao, Yi Er's eyes suddenly became sore and swollen. She called out softly and almost cried. This damn man. He was usually so quiet. Sometimes, he was as smelly and hard as a rock in the latrine. But every time he lied to her, it made her want to cry. Jiang Zhao, you bad guy. Why are you always coaxing me like this? When did I ever coax you? Jiang Zhao chuckled at this time. He could clearly hear Yi Er's emotions through the phone. She sniffed softly and pulled out a piece of tissue to blow her nose. She sniffled again. At this time, the tissue was probably already wiping away her tears. He patted his chest. That part of his heart was beating loudly. It was as if she was naughtily dancing inside. I always wanted to dress you better. Which girl at your age doesn't like to dress up beautifully? Seeing how you deliberately make yourself so low-key, I feel a little sorry for you. As Yi Er listened, she slowly squatted down on the sofa and buried her head in her knees. Jiang Zhao, you're so bad. Usually, you're so bad. You've never said such nice things to me. You've never. Jiang Zhao could clearly hear Yi Er's sobbing. He sighed softly and reached out his hand in midair. It was as if she was squatting in front of him and gently stroking her hair. Now, the black part of her hair had grown out a lot. The messy part at the bottom was trimmed every month. He liked the way her hair grew out. He liked how her hair slowly turned from a dull yellow to a soft and shiny black. That bit of long black was a testimony to their journey, their trajectory, and the trajectory of time. His palm caressed the air. Yunyi, I'll learn to say more to you in the future. No way. Yi Er snorted. If you learn to be as glib as those playboys, what will you do if you go out and cheat other girls? You're not allowed to learn. Jiang Zhao laughed. Women are really unreasonable. They are. By the way, honey, do you have a business meeting tonight? Remember to tell me at 5 if you want to come home for dinner tonight. Okay. Jiang Zhao replied gently. He felt that perhaps this was the only life that could be called days. The Central Commission for Discipline Inspection received a report that Jiang Zhao had accepted bribes. $100,000, 6 small gold bullion issued by the bank, and a 9-carat South African diamond. When the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection received this report, it instantly blew up. This news was undoubtedly a heavy bomb, not because of the huge amount of bribes, but because the fact that Jiang Zhao had accepted bribes was simply a fantasy to the people who knew the truth. $100,000 was only a few 100,000 RMB. 6 small gold bullion was quite a lot to ordinary people, but how much was it to Jiang Zhao? A 9-carat South African diamond was indeed worth a lot, but it was still inconceivable to the higher-ups of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. Everyone knew that the Qin family had been doing business for generations. Qin Rongfang was a powerful character. Although Qin Fian was gay, he was also resolute in his work. Qin Zhen was also good at doing business. The Qin family had never participated in any ranking. Otherwise, how could there be a position for other families at the top of the list in Sea City? Therefore, although the Qin family did not have a position on the list of wealth, the Qin family was still firmly in the top position in Sea City. Jiang Zhao's political career was just a chess piece of the family. Just like the other sons of the rich in Sea City, he served the family. How could he allow himself to be involved in such a filthy matter? He would not even be interested in the heart of the ocean worn by Rose on the Titanic, let alone a 9-carat diamond. How could his ambition be so limited? How could that be replaced by money? As long as he continued his career, the Qin family would be able to earn a lot of heart of the ocean in a year. How could he accept bribes? Secretary Fang of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection paced back and forth in his office. It was not that he did not want to handle this matter impartially, but this matter had made him suspicious. However, with his position, he could not ignore such a huge amount of money being reported. Logically, he should immediately hold a meeting to pass the preliminary examination, file a case for approval, and investigate and collect evidence, but he sat down, lit a cigarette, and only took a puff occasionally. His eyebrows were slightly raised, and there was a deep gully. The smoke surrounded his hair, which had turned gray due to fatigue. Even though his whole body was shrouded in sorrow, he still exuded a simple and upright aura from head to toe. After finishing his cigarette, he lit another one. He did not smoke it even when it was burnt out. At this time, his secretary knocked on the door and came in. "Secretary Fang, the people downstairs are asking about Mayor Zhang's case." Secretary Fang put out the cigarette in the ashtray and walked to the window. He looked at the people and cars coming and going like ants downstairs. He sighed. "Xiao Chen, don't you think this matter is fishy?" Xiao Chen replied. "A tall tree attracts the wind. It's either real evidence, or it's fabricated out of thin air. But no matter which one it is, we should follow the normal procedures. This case involves a huge amount of money, so we have to skip the preliminary examination. The approval should be given directly. We should go and collect evidence now. We cannot wait for them to transfer the stolen goods." Secretary Fang knew he was getting old. He was hesitant because of his relationship with the Jiang family. He did not want to believe that the grandson of the old general, whom he respected, would accept bribes. He was stalling for time. He did not want to believe that this was the truth, but he was also worried that this was the truth. If this was the truth, it would be like a knife cutting off the respect he had for his family for decades. Secretary Fang's integrity made him feel bitter. In the end, he agreed with Xiao Chen and followed the normal procedures. Yi Er was watching TV at home. After a while, she felt bored. So, she called Xia Qian. "Qian, what are you doing?" "I'm preparing a script." "Oh, you're busy," Xia Qian said proudly. "Of course. Do you think you are the only one who can be a successful career woman? I will also become the most famous host in Haicheng." "Humph. Then tell me, are there any opportunities for you to appear on camera?" "There are. My boss asked me to attend a new product launch for a high-end swimming product. It's at the city's swimming pool. He said that he will let me draft the content of the interview after they have confirmed the name list." Xia Qian sighed. "I'm going to appear on camera, ha. Forget it. For something like this, other companies would only buy advertisements on their websites. Unless they hired a big star. There are big stars, like that F5 group from Taiwan. You've seen that very popular Idol TV series, right?" Yi Er lay on the sofa. "No, I haven't. I've seen F1 and FO, ha." Just as they were talking excitedly, the doorbell rang. Yi Er held the phone and said, "Someone is knocking on the door." "I'm hanging up." "Yi Er." She put on her slippers and walked to the door. She saw a group of people in police uniforms through the peephole. She was stunned. A plainclothes policeman walked to the peephole. He took out his ID and said seriously, "Madam Yun, please open the door. We are from the Commission for Discipline Inspection. Come and see." Hengcha 866. Chapter 671. Yi Er couldn't help but shiver when she heard the words, Commission for Discipline Inspection. It was as if a gust of cold air was flowing up from the bottom of her feet, and her 4 limbs were about to be frozen stiff. The person holding the doorknob was trembling badly. Commission for Discipline Inspection. No political family would wish for the Commission for Discipline Inspection to visit them. It would be best if they did not see these people for the rest of their lives. Whenever the Commission for Discipline Inspection appeared, there was only one reason. The person in the family who had taken the path of politics had caused some unclean things. Jiang Zhao had reminded her again and again not to accept gifts from others. Therefore, she had taken apart the expensive gift cards for the dance studio. She was afraid that people would use them to talk about her in the future, saying that she had accepted bribes in disguise. During the wedding, Jiang Zhao did not invite many people. Actually, many government officials will hold their birthday banquets in a low-key manner. Even if they do not invite, there will still be a lot of people who will send gifts. Some people are careful, and some people want to use this opportunity to make money. Jiang Zhao had never been involved in these things. Firstly, Yi Er knew Jiang Zhao was rich and did not care about these things. If there were people like Jiang Zhao in this industry, there would be less corruption and bribery. But Jiang Zhao said it was impossible. That way, the government will become a shopping mall, and everyone will help their family to manage their businesses. Secondly, she knew that Jiang Zhao had the Qin family and the Jiang family behind him. He had to be strict and keep himself clean. He couldn't get involved in those dirty things. Otherwise, everything in the family would be affected. Jiang Zhao had repeatedly emphasized that a clan was different from an ordinary family. Everyone in a large clan was closely related to each other. Only by being more united than those in a small clan would the clan become more and more prosperous. Otherwise, everyone would scheme for their own things and be unfaithful for decades. Some would fail, and some would scatter. Although Jiang Zhao was the mayor on the surface, but his family owns a lot of shares, and he has his own company. His profits are not worse than Qin Fian, who is a businessman. He also has a higher social status than others. But how can Jiang Zhao offend people from the Commission for Discipline Inspection? Yi Er was still holding the doorknob, and she was still shivering. The doorbell rang again, and she opened the door. Hello. Even when the door was closed, no matter how nervous and afraid Yi Er was, the moment the door was opened, her bearing and poise were like that of Mrs. Jiang, who could stand beside Jiang Zhao. At this moment, she smiled modestly and politely. How can I help you? The man in the lead said. Ms. Yun, please cooperate with our investigation. Yi Er's hands, which were folded in front of her abdomen, quickly clenched and loosened. She said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, please call me Mrs. Jiang. I'm sorry, Mrs. Jiang. The man apologized. After some negotiation, Yi Er led him into the house. The fruit basket on the table was picked up by a police officer. Comrade Zhang, this should be the Lan Zi mentioned in the report. Was it sent by a woman? Yes, she is my friend. Yi Er nodded. But her sixth sense told her that the situation was bad. If there was a problem with the fruit basket, then it was not only the fruit basket that was in trouble. Zheng Ling was in trouble too. Zheng Ling. Yi Er shook her head and forcefully shook it twice. The man with the surname Zhang said to Yi Er, do you mind opening it? I don't mind. Yi knew that it was impossible to argue with them at this moment. She could only cooperate. Jie didn't mind. These people had their so-called needs, and they had to be opened up. If she didn't cooperate, it wouldn't be disadvantageous to her. The transparent film on the fruit basket was opened, and the cherries were moved away. The other fruits were slowly taken apart like a wall. The golden rectangular bricks were taken out one by the workers in gloves and put into a transparent plastic bag. Then, they sealed it, wrote a label, and stuck it on the bag. Someone asked, is it 6 pieces? Yes, 6 pieces. Yi Er felt her ears buzzing. She felt like she was going deaf, but she still heard someone ask, is the US $100,000 in cash? Yes, just right. We need to verify the authenticity of this 9-carat South African diamond. Send it back to the office. Pack it up first. At first, her ears were still a mess of screams. But when she heard the words, 9-carat South African diamond, Yi Er could not take it anymore and fell back. Someone supported Yi Er and asked, Mrs. Jiang, are you okay? Mrs. Jiang, you still have to come with us. Please cooperate. Yi Er kept asking in her heart, why? Why? Zheng Ling had been friends with her for so many years. Why did he want to hurt her like this? Why did he want to hurt Jiang Zhao like this? $100,000, 6 gold bricks, 9 carats. What did he want to do to Jiang Zhao? I want to call my husband. Yi Er told herself that she must not cry. Although her heart ached so much that she wanted to cry, she could not. The staff helped Yi Er sit on the sofa and said apologetically, Mrs. Jiang, I'm sorry. The party has already investigated Comrade Jiang Zhao. You can't talk to him. We just spoke a few hours ago. Yi Er could not believe it. How long had it been? Mayor Jiang had become Comrade Jiang Zhao. She could not get used to the drastic changes in the past few hours. Then I will not call Jiang Zhao. I will call the person who gave me the fruit basket. Mrs. Jiang, this is not good. Yi Er stood up. I can turn on the speakerphone. You can listen. I will not say anything that will hinder your investigation. Yi Er called Zheng Ling, but Zheng Ling's phone was switched off. Yi Er took a deep breath and sat down. Was Zheng Ling trying to kill Jiang Zhao? Where was Lu Cheng? Lu Cheng was by Jiang Zhao's side. Could it be that he had nurtured a tiger for himself? Mrs. Jiang, would you like to come with us now? Although it was a question, Yi Er knew that such a question would not give Jiang Yuning a choice. Zhuang Yichen's entire body was still on top of Xiaoya. He had not left the house since yesterday. The two of them had wanted to eat, so he had gotten someone to deliver takeout. After cutting off the calls from the applicants a few times, he smashed Xiaoya's phone. He was a disciplined person. He would work when he was supposed to. Since he found Qiu Xiaoya and let her move into Qingfeng Garden, he had let Li Yong handle everything in the company. If Xiaoya was unhappy, he would make her submit. If she resisted, he would torture her until she could no longer resist. She had gone to look for a marriage partner behind his back. Did she think that he would allow her to go on blind dates like before? Would it be like the last time when she said that she wanted to pursue her true love, and he would let her do whatever she wanted? Who asked her to always come into his line of sight? And now she wanted to run away. She was daydreaming. Dreaming. Little demon Qiu, if you dare to cause trouble with me again, I'll skin you alive. The two of them were still naked. Xiaoya did not dare to bicker with Zhuang Yichen anymore. She only felt a burning pain in her lower body. This beast. She could only deal with it coldly and not talk to this beast. If she spoke or resisted, he would take revenge on her. She had had enough. Seeing that Xiaoya did not speak, Zhuang Yichen pinched her chin. Can you hear me? I'm deaf. I can't hear you. You. Zhuang Yichen was about to lower his head and bite this disobedient woman when his phone rang. He had told Li Yong not to call his personal phone unless it was something important. He reached for the phone beside his pillow and picked it up. Young master. Uncle Li, why are you in such a hurry? Zhuang Yichen could hear the panic in Li Yong's voice and immediately sat up. What happened? Xiaoya suddenly stopped. She had been with Zhuang Yichen for so long, and she had never seen him answer such a serious call. Young master, Mayor Jiang is under investigation, and the people from the Commission for Discipline Inspection had just taken him away. Do you think Mayor Jiang is finished? Zhuang Yichen's brows furrowed and relaxed. Commission for Discipline Inspection. How did he offend the Commission for Discipline Inspection? Is it because of his work style? In Zhuang Yichen's mind, the Commission for Discipline Inspection's investigation of the party's officials is either to investigate corruption or to investigate their work style. Corruption has nothing to do with Jiang Zhao. That means he is playing with women. This is too strange. No, they said it was bribery. But as you know, our connections in the building are all Jiang Zhao's acquaintances. Today, the Commission for Discipline Inspection suddenly came to the municipal government building to question Jiang Zhao. We only heard a little bit about it, and we don't know if it's accurate, but they said it was very tight. We are also not able to find out more about this. What do you think? What else do we need to think? Nothing must happen to Jiang Zhao. If anything happens to him, we are all finished. Zhuang Yichen got off the bed, and Xiaoya was shocked when she heard that Jiang Zhao was in trouble. Zhuang Yichen turned around and pointed at Xiaoya. Xiaoya immediately pulled the blanket over her and lay down again. Zhuang Yichen opened Xiaoya's wardrobe and took out his clothes to change. Uncle Li, wait for me at the office. Go and check if this is related to Qin Tong. If it is not related to Qin Tong, go and check if Jiang Zhao has any grudges with anyone. Young master, I will go and get ready. I will come back to arrange the schedule. Zhuang Yichen placed the phone on his shoulder and put on his clothes. Xiaoya noticed the seriousness of the situation and quickly put on a sleeping robe and jumped off the bed to help Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen opened his arms and let Xiaoya help him put on his clothes. You cannot go to the Commission for Discipline Inspection. Once you have prepared the things I need, I will go and meet Qin Tong. Okay. Zhuang Yichen put on his clothes and took a sip of water. When he left the room, he looked at Xiaoya and ordered. You need to change your phone number now. Xiaoya wanted to retort, but Zhuang Yichen said coldly. Don't talk to me about conditions. Zhuang Yichen drove to Xingchen International, and he dialed Qin Tong's number. The other party picked up, and Qin Tong smiled. Mayor Chen, are you busy? Do you want to have a cup of tea? Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 672. It's not convenient for me right now. I'll contact you another day, Qin Tong said faintly and hung up Zhuang Yichen's call. The beeping sound from the phone made Zhuang Yichen grit his teeth and curse in a low voice. Zhuang Yichen didn't understand why Qin Tong would choose to draw a line with him at this time. Logically speaking, Qin Tong shouldn't have known that he was in contact with Jiang Zhao. Could it be that there was a mistake somewhere? When Jiang Zhao was being investigated by the Commission for Discipline Inspection, his calmness was beyond the expectations of the investigators. When investigating corruption cases, psychological observers would often accompany them. However, these professionals could not detect Jiang Zhao's abnormal expression. They had been answering him fluently without hiding anything. Their attitude was calm and collected, and they could not help but feel a little overwhelmed by the people who were inquiring. Comrade Jiang Zhao, regarding the fruits sent by your guests, we found $100,000, 6 small bank-issued gold bullion, and a 9-carat South African diamond. How do you explain this? My wife's classmate came to visit and brought a basket of fruits. As for the contents of the basket, other than the fruits, my wife and I don't know. So, when Yunyi received the fruits, she notified you immediately? Immediately? Ha! Jiang Zhao laughed. Every word was full of mystery. If he admitted that he was the first to receive the fruits, then he and Yi Er had talked about it in private? With his tacit approval, Yi Er accepted the basket of fruits with astronomical prices? It was after her classmate left. Are you sure? Yes. Jiang Zhao tried his best to avoid his interaction and involvement in this matter. He also concluded that Yi Er called him when there was no one at home. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used such a tone and method to talk to him. In front of outsiders, even if she had to pretend, she would pretend to be very dignified. The questioning couldn't continue because Jiang Zhao was at work. If his wife received a basket of fruits at home, he could just say that he didn't know about it and bring it over. Even though the questioning couldn't continue, the questioning continued. Jiang Zhao responded casually. After Yi Er was questioned and investigated, he went home, but Jiang Zhao was not at home. In the living room were Qin Rongfang, Old Master Jiang, Jiang Liqing, Qin Zhen, and Qin Fian. The Qin residence had a spare key to the 9th mansion because Qin Ji, Ai's mother would send some soup over when she was cooking it. Sometimes, when there was no one at home, she would put it in the fridge. Old Master Jiang rushed over from Jiang district. Yi Er suddenly felt so guilty that he felt ashamed. After a day of stressful interrogations, Yi Er was exhausted and requested not to have any contact with outsiders. She turned off her phone and forgot to turn it on the way back. The Commission for Discipline Inspection was very strict in investigating corruption, so it was not convenient for Old Master Jiang to call the secretary of the Commission for Discipline Inspection in person. He knew very well how upright the person who used to be his subordinate was. The answer might not be clear, and it might even make things difficult for him, but he still got to know the general situation through his connections. Yi Er drooped his head, and there was no light in his eyes. He stood in the corner outside the large sofa area. Grandpa, Dad, Mom, he called them one by one and bowed to the elders. Qin Rongfang and Old Master Jiang sat on the main sofa, while Jiang Liqing and Qin Zhen sat opposite each other on the single sofa. Qin Fian was casually walking around the room. Qin Rongfang glanced at Yi Er, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes. Do you know your mistake? It was the dignity of the head of the family that no one could invade. The words, "Do you know your mistake?" were like a heavy torture weapon that suddenly trapped Yi Er. This sentence was neither light nor heavy, and there was a gap between each word. The tone was raised, but at the end of the sentence, there was a hint of anger in it. Yi Er raised her head and looked at Qin Rongfang, who had his eyes closed. He had silver hair and white eyebrows, and he looked like an immortal. He was wearing a Chinese-style button-up shirt, and his hands were supporting his legs. He looked calm and composed, but his hands were rubbing his legs heavily, as if he was venting the lingering anger in his heart. She glanced at Old Master Jiang, but he was looking at her with a pair of sharp eyes. She saw in his eyes, he was disappointed that she did not live up to his expectations. Yi Er bit her lip. Thinking about Jiang Zhao's situation, she almost cried out softly, but she held it back and said softly, "I was wrong." Qin Rongfang suddenly opened his eyes, and his voice rose. Every word was like a hammer landing on the ground. There are rules in the family. Has Jiang Zhao ever mentioned to you that you can't accept gifts from others? Yi Er's heart palpitated. She could only look at Qin Rongfang and nod timidly. He did say that. He had said it more than once, but she had never thought that Zhengling would harm her. It was just a basket of fruits. She knew that it was ridiculous to find such an excuse for herself. A mistake was a mistake, but when she saw the determination in her grandfather's eyes, she started to feel afraid. She felt as if the mountain in her heart was being pushed by a huge force, and it kept shaking, as if a landslide was coming. Qin Rongfang said seriously, "Has he ever hinted to you that you can accept gifts from others?" Yi Er trembled as she took a deep breath. No. When Zhuang Yichen got married, there had been a gift, but Jiang Zhao had said that in the future, when Zhuang Yichen got married, there would be a gift in return. That was the reciprocal gift between friends. Yun. Yi. Er. Qin Rongfang shouted out Yi Er's name. You are not fit to stand beside Jiang Zhao. Yi Er finally knew what was the force that was crushing her heart. She suddenly felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and she knelt down. Grandfather. Qin Rongfang said. Get up. Grandfather, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Yi Er repeatedly cried out in fear that she was wrong. Qin Rongfang had been speaking sternly. Do you know why I didn't ask you to kneel down when I told you there are rules in our family? In our Jiang family and Qin family, if you make a mistake, don't talk about Jiang Zhao being the mayor. Even if he is the chairman, he still has to kneel down. But I am not asking you to kneel down because you are not worthy. You are the wife of a governor, and your actions can affect your husband's future. But you don't know how to control yourself. If Jiang Zhao is an ordinary governor, it's fine. But he is not. He is from the Jiang and Qin families. Do you understand? Senior Master Jiang did not say anything, indicating that he agreed with Qin Rongfang. Qin Zhen and Jiang Liqing had the same opinion. Yi Er cried silently this time. She bent her knees and moved to Qin Rongfang's side. She reached out and shook his leg. Grandfather, I'm sorry. I can do anything you ask me to do, but I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want. Qin Rongfang ignored her. Yi Er turned around and pulled Senior Master Zhang's arm. Grandfather, I am part of this family. You can punish me however you want. Qin Zhen said calmly. Yi Er immediately turned to look at her mother-in-law and said, if you were the only one who accepted this basket of fruits, it would at most be a gift. But if you're his wife, he won't be able to extricate himself from it. Mom, do you want me to take responsibility for this matter? As long as you dissolve your marriage, you don't have to take responsibility for this matter. It can be resolved. I can help you get a divorce certificate immediately. If you are a divorced couple, then this is your personal action. Yi Er wiped the tears from her face. Mom, I'm innocent. I didn't know that there was such a thing in the basket. Can we still get married in the future? Yi Er agreed with this plan. Qin Zhen only said, it's hard to say. Yi Er crawled to Qin Zhen's feet. She looked at her and wiped the tears from her face. Can't we be together in the future? Can't we be together after this storm passes? Qin Zhen sighed softly. Yi Er, before you came in, I already told you that it's not easy to be Jiang Zhao's wife. What did you promise me? Yi Er knelt on the floor and looked at the expressions on everyone's faces. She knew that the most precious thing in the world was family. If her daughter-in-law and son fell into the water, who would her mother-in-law save first? This was a question that only an idiot would ask. Hence, she could understand their anger. Even Qin Fian, who usually joked with her, chose to remain silent. They were already considered to be very well-mannered. Otherwise, they would definitely give her a tight slap. But their words were worse than a few slaps. Is there no other way? Do you have one? Qin Zhen asked calmly. Yi Er drove the car and sped along the road. She had already found 3 places, the photography studio, Zhengling's old house, and the new house that he was living in now. There was no one there. Finally, she drove the car to Lu Cheng's apartment. When she rang the doorbell, she said, "Get the gas." When the door opened and she saw Zhengling, Yi Er barged in. Zhengling saw Yi Er's red and swollen eyes and her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Yi Er saw a few small photo albums on the TV cabinet in the living room. They were photos of Lu Cheng and Zhengling. She walked over and picked up the photo frames and smashed them against the wall, shattering the glass all over the floor. What right do you have to be happy? A series of banging sounds came from the living room, causing Lu Cheng to come out from his room. When he saw Yi Er, a look of surprise flashed across his face. Yi Er smoothed the hair on her face and glanced at Zhengling and Lu Cheng. She sneered, "What? You're quite happy, aren't you?" Yi Er. Zhengling walked over and tried to pull Yi Er away. Yi Er slapped Zhengling's hand away and sneered, "Your figure became slimmer all of a sudden. Now that I think about it, I didn't even notice that you were wearing a baseball cap back then. Were you afraid that the surveillance footage would deny that it was you?" "Zhengling, I didn't expect you to scheme against me. What do you want me to do?" "Yi Er, divorce Jiang Zhao. Once you're divorced, this matter won't matter anymore. As long as he has nothing to do with you, this matter won't matter anymore." When Yi Er heard this, she laughed out loud. As she laughed, the shape of her mouth slowly turned downwards. In the end, she looked even uglier than crying. She took a few steps back and pointed at Zhengling and Lu Cheng. Her fingertips trembled as she said, "All of you are hoping for me to get a divorce. Zhengling, you said that you're my best friend. Tell me, what good will it do for you if I get a divorce?" Yi Er suddenly smiled cruelly. "Zhengling, do you think that you can run away just because the surveillance footage in the neighborhood can't prove that you were the one who sent the things to my house?" Zhengling lowered her head guiltily and covered her face as she sobbed. "Yi Er, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Zhengling, you overestimated me. You overestimate me. Do you think I'm a saint? My Yunyi didn't study much in this lifetime, but at least I remember Confucius saying, if one repays evil with good, how can one repay good with good? Zhengling, in my Yunye's life book, there's only, if you're good to me, I'll be even better to you. If you're heartless to me, I'll be unjust to you. Zhengling and Lu Cheng were shocked. Yi Er lifted her chin and straightened her neck and back. She was extremely brave and resolute. She gritted her teeth and took a deep breath. Her eyes were emotionless and cold. My mother wants to take custody of my brother. For the sake of my father's health, I can even disown my mother. Besides, you're only my Yunye's former friend. When Yi Er bit down on the word, former, she couldn't help but feel a dull pain in her heart. She thought that only love would hurt people. In fact, being betrayed by friendship was equally hurtful. When the Jiang and Qin families wanted a divorce, she had no right to object. But Zhengling, no matter what the reason was, she would never forgive her. Lu Cheng calmly poured water for Yi Er. Yi Er said calmly, the two of you must have cooperated very well. Your plan was flawless. But Zhengling, I still have the cup that I poured tea for you. Your fingerprints are on it. You've drunk it. That cup will definitely be able to detect your DNA. Just you wait. Yi Er. Zhengling suddenly panicked and went forward to grab Yi Er, who was about to leave. Yi Er, at most, Jiang Zhao will lose his official position. He will have many other things to do in the future. The Jiang and Qin families won't leave him in the lurch. But if something happens to me, my life will be over. At this moment, Yi Er heard the two words, Jiang Zhao. All the muscles in her body hurt as if they had been twisted and pulled. She hadn't contacted him in a long time. She didn't know if the disciplinary committee was the same as the prison, but when she thought of how her father had been forced to confess, Yi Er felt her whole body convulse in pain. She slapped Zhengling hard in the face. His lonely and brave neck and back trembled like a mountain rock that was about to fall. Lose his official position. If the $100,000, 6 gold bricks, and that 9-carat diamond are determined to be bribes, do you know how severe the punishment will be? That's bribery. It's a crime. Yi Er grabbed Zhengling's shoulder and squeezed it hard. She shook it forcefully. She bared her bloodshot eyes and screamed hoarsely, it's a crime. His whole life is ruined. You said your whole life is ruined. Do you care so much about your whole life? Is your whole life so important? Does that mean my feelings are not important? Is Jiang Zhao's life not important? Lu Qing passed the cup to Yi Er. Yi Er let go of Zhengling and raised her hand to knock the cup over. She said arrogantly, if you all want to poison me, I will not drink it. But if you all poison me, Zhuhao's comrades will take you to prison with guns. Yi Er had suddenly thought of bringing up Zhuhao. She saw that Lu Cheng was too calm, and such a calm man gave her a bad feeling. She suddenly realized that she had revealed too much information when she ran over. If it wasn't for the support of a calm person like Lu Cheng, Zhengling wouldn't have been able to harm her. She had to be careful of her own safety. As long as Zhengling and Lu Cheng were together, this matter would not be simple. She did not believe that Lu Cheng wanted to pull Jiang Zhao down and make him the deputy mayor. This kind of thing had never happened before. Either Zhengling or Lu Cheng had someone backing him up. It was not that she did not want to take all the responsibility. For Jiang Zhao, she was willing to do anything. But if she did not find out who was behind this, she would not be satisfied even if she died. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 673. Zhengling's feelings for Yi had always been very deep, and she trusted her a lot. She trusted the friendship between the two, but she never expected Yi to say such heartless words. She thought that Yi would remember the past, and even if she felt wronged, she would never sell her out. Just like in the past, Yi Er did not allow her to interfere with Yun Hongwei's matters because she was afraid that she would be hurt or threatened. She did not want the studio's shares because she was afraid that her mother would not get along well with her. Yi Er was always considerate of her. But her words just now were so harsh, so ruthless, so heartless. She said, "If you are heartless, I will be unjust." Zheng Ling looked at Lu Cheng for help. Lu Cheng looked at Yi Er and said, "Yi Er, regarding boss, there's no need to jump to conclusions. Calm down, there will be a way." Yi Er only realized at this moment from Lu Cheng's tone that there was a type of person in this world who could distinguish everything clearly. What was love? Zheng Ling had someone to entrust her life to. And she still did not know what was going on with the person she had entrusted her life to. Yi Er chuckled and said, "Lu Cheng, God is watching what you do." What's that line from the movies? If you take big steps, you'll pull your balls. If you want to make a name for yourself, think about who you are messing with. Lu Cheng's expression darkened. Zheng Ling hurriedly explained, "Yi Er, you've misunderstood Lu Cheng. You've misunderstood. Then why? Because of you. Don't tell me you're burping just because I can have a peaceful meal now." Yi Er's words were vicious. She knew that Zheng Ling had once wished for her happiness. But other than this, she could not think of any other reason. Yi Er looked at Zheng Ling's pale face and laughed contemptuously. "I'm just curious. With your studio's income and Lu Cheng's salary, I can understand the $100,000 and 6 gold bricks. But I can't even imagine the 9-carat diamond. Did the two of you rob a jewelry auction house?" Lu Cheng suddenly realized that the topic wasn't right. Seeing that Zheng Ling was about to explain, he immediately stopped her. Yi Er wanted to find out something in Liu Cheng's residence, but the lights in her and Jiang Zhao's room in mansion number 9 were always on. The people in the room were still there. Qin Fian took the coffee beans to the coffee machine. He had nothing to do, so he started to brew coffee. As he ground the beans, he smelled the aroma of the coffee. He thought to himself, "I don't drink coffee, and the coffee machine doesn't look like it hasn't been used before. Is it for my sister-in-law?" Qin Rongfang, Old Master Jiang, Qin Zhen, and Jiang Liqing had already pulled out a square table and started to play with double buttons in the hall. Qin Rongfang and Old Master Jiang were on opposite sides, while Qin Zhen and Jiang Liqing were on opposite sides. Qin Fian took a look, and the two old men insisted on standing opposite sides, saying that they were not inferior to the young people. Qin Rongfang looked at the 3 twos that Jiang Liqing threw down. Jiang Liqing didn't have many cards in his hand. Qin Rongfang looked at Old Master Jiang. "Old Jiang, what do you think your son is doing? You played 3 aces, and he can play 3 small twos to suppress you. What does that mean?" Jiang Liqing didn't say anything and let the 2 old men talk. Old Master Jiang laughed. "Up until now, the bombs have almost been defused. He's playing like this because he's in a hurry. Otherwise, he's trying to test whether the big and small ghosts are in your hands. There's another possibility. His next hand will be a card that can be dragged to the end. He wants to get rid of it." Qin Rongfang snorted. He had the appearance of a snow-haired and white-browed immortal, but when he smiled, he looked at Jiang Liqing with a scheming look. "Tell me, if the big and small ghosts are not in my hands, but in Qin Zhen's hands, wouldn't it be a waste of your cards? Moreover, what if the 2 pairs of big and small ghosts are in my hands, or 1 pair is in my hands and the other pair is in old Jiang's hands? What will you do?" Jiang Liqing deliberately raised his eyebrows and smiled. "What are you afraid of? I don't believe that Qin Zhen doesn't have a big card in her hands." Qin Zhen said to Jiang Liqing, "Playing cards is like playing chess. Look at you leaving in such a hurry. You don't even know how you're going to die." The 4 of them laughed and continued to play cards. Qin Fian found it funny when he heard the 4 elders talking about cards. They had forced their granddaughter-in-law to go out and think of a way. A few powerful old men were sitting here calmly playing cards. If his brother came back and found out, he would definitely make a fuss with them. The smell of coffee was very strong and drifted all over the room. Qin Rongfang frowned. put away that foreign thing of yours. It's so annoying. When I smell it, my stomach hurts. Qin Fian had already filled his cup with coffee. He took a sip leisurely. That's because you don't know how to appreciate it. Brother and sister-in-law both like to drink it. Qin Rongfang snorted and slapped the cards in his hand. He felt that he had played particularly well and was so happy that his eyebrows flew up. Jiang Zhao won't worship foreign things like you. Grandpa, call sister-in-law. It's the middle of the night. Aren't you afraid that something will happen to her? How are you going to explain to brother if something happens? Qin Zhen shook her head and said, pass. Old Master Jiang also said, pass. Don't. Seeing that Jiang Liqing was about to play his cards, he pressed the cards in front of him. Fian, nothing will happen. That girl needs to be trained. Jiang Liqing frowned and looked at the cards on the table, hesitating. Qin Rongfang raised his eyebrows, his eyes only falling on the cards on the table, calculating what other cards had not been revealed. After thinking for a while, he said to Qin Fian, this matter is still a small matter. This girl knows too little. It's not enough to just be impulsive. Just look at your aunt when she asked them to divorce just now. She cried so sadly. Don't we know that she's sad? She didn't even think about it. Is it too late for her to get a divorce now? Your brother chose the wrong major for her. She should study law. I think she should stop studying finance and accounting. She should apply for a new major. She can't follow Jiang Zhao if she doesn't know the law. Then you guys are too cruel. She's just a little girl and she was so scared by you guys that she cried like that. She ran out in the middle of the night and said that she would think of a solution. If my brother comes back and finds out, he'll definitely be angry with you guys. Qin Fian sat on the armrest of Qin Rongfang's chair and took a sip of coffee. He stretched his head out to look at the cards in his grandfather's hand. He despised them in his heart. This hand was lousy. Your brother has to be grateful to me. That Yi girl needs to be trained. She needs to know that it's impossible to be peaceful if she stays by Jiang Zhao's side. Whether these things are related to her or Jiang Zhao, the impact is very big. A woman in a family must have the ability to control the family's affairs. After experiencing this, she should know that she has to leave a way out for herself and for the family. Why did this happen to her today? Qin Rongfang put the cards in his hand on the table and raised his hand to press down on the table. Everyone stopped. Qin Fian wanted to run away, but it was too late, because his grandfather was going to start talking nonsense again. He knew these principles, but he had to pretend to be very sensible and listen. She didn't take precautions. It's not her fault. She hasn't experienced it before. But what if someone comes next time? What if it's a distant relative of our Jiang and Qin families who sends some messy things? What should she do? What should she do? This is a fruit. She can open it, wash it, and share it. If she finds it immediately, she can return it. What if her neighbor bakes a cake for her to try, but puts a diamond in it? What should she do? It's not that I want to torture her like this, but after this incident, she should know what her position in this family is. Every action and decision she makes means something to Jiang Zhao, and what it affects. She has to know that she is a member of this family. If something happens, it's useless to punish her. She can only make up for it. Sometimes, even making up for it is useless, so she has to learn to be on guard. She should know that the daughter-in-law of a rich family can't be compared to the daughter of a rich family. The daughter of a rich family can cause trouble and wait for others to clean up her mess, but the daughter-in-law of a rich family should be someone who can clean up the mess for others, because she has to take care of their family in the future. Qin Fian thought to himself, oh, he's finally finished. Qin Rongfang grabbed Qin Fian, who wanted to escape. Qin Fian could only sit on the armrest of the chair. He coughed awkwardly and said, Brat, let me tell you. When your brother comes out, don't talk too much. If you dare to tell your brother about what happened tonight, I will teach you a lesson. Qin Fian exclaimed, eh. Looking at Qin Rongfang's calm expression, he burst into laughter. Grandpa, if you dare to do something, you have to be brave enough to admit it. Ha, now you're afraid of revenge? What am I afraid of? Jiang Zhao is my grandson. Can't I punish my granddaughter-in-law by making her kneel? Humph. Qin Rongfang glanced at old Master Jiang across the table. Old Jiang, you have a share. I'm an accomplice. Old Master Jiang laughed. You are the main culprit. Just now, you were the one who said that the girl was scared to tears by you. I basically didn't say anything. Qin Rongfang glared at old Master Jiang. Old fart, you're too cunning. Qin Fian looked speechlessly at Jiang Liqing and Qin Zhen, who were seriously studying the cards in their hands. He sighed. Are you really not afraid that something will happen to my brother? Old Master Jiang shook his head and said, What are you afraid of? Do they dare to starve him? Torture him? This matter was clearly a setup. Now, this matter was just like your uncle-in-law's hand just now. The three little twos had all come down. With such a big move, if he couldn't force the big and little devils to come down, he would lose this card. We will soon see the trump card of the person behind this. Then, as you said just now, what if the big and little ghosts are in the hands of his opponent? Qin Rongfang laughed. Then it will be a waste. Because I still have a little twos in my hands. Qin Fian shook his head. That's right, twos. This group of elders all have twos in their hands. Their brains are full of twos. How can they play people like this? At this time, instead of thinking of a way to save their grandson, they came here to train their granddaughter-in-law. Isn't this a double loop? Add Hengcha 866. Chapter 674. Qin Fian looked at the bad cards in Qin Rongfang's hand and asked Jiang Liqing, Uncle, my grandpa lied to you. He doesn't have a two in his hand. You're definitely going to win. Qin Rongfang slammed the table and suddenly stood up, raising his hand as if he was going to hit him. Qin Fian jumped back and laughed at Qin Rongfang. Let me tell you, don't think that everything is within your calculations. Don't you know that there's a creature in this world called a mole? Qin Fian was also at his wits' end because of this bunch of unscrupulous old men. He talked about serious matters with them, and they talked about cards with him. He talked about cards with them, and they talked about it in a serious manner, making insinuations that were very profound. Sure enough, Qin Rongfang raised his head and harumphed at Qin Fian. His aura rose sharply as he said, You still don't know that there's a way to win in this world called cheating. If I want to win, who dares to make me lose? The others burst into laughter. F***ck. Qin Fian was directly defeated. Just at this moment, there was a clanking sound from the door lock. Qin Rongfang's eyebrows jumped. Aya, he quickly ordered, granddaughter-in-law is back. Quick, tidy up. Liqing, Qin Zhen, Fian, hurry up. Qin Fian snorted, I'm not playing cards. I'm not taking them. You dare. Be careful, or I'll find a few women and throw them on your bed. Qin Fian snorted and reluctantly cooperated with Jiang Liqing and Qin Zhen to tidy up. The door was locked from the inside. After tidying up, Qin Fian then went to open the door. Yi Er knew that the door was locked from the inside. She knew that the elders at home were still there, so she didn't dare to knock. She only knocked 3 times, waited for a while, and knocked 3 more times. She was also afraid that the doorbell would be too loud, so she didn't dare to be too loud. Qin Fian looked at Yi Er standing at the door. He really didn't dare to look at her red and swollen eyes. He felt guilty and lowered his head and turned back into the house. In Yi Er's eyes, Qin Fian's actions showed that he had a deep opinion of her. Thinking about the elders still sitting on the sofa, Yi began to feel nervous again. After entering the house, she first went to the living room sofa to greet the elders. Yi Er then went to the dining room and took a plastic bag from the fridge. She then returned to the living room and knelt on the carpet under the tea machine. Looking through the trash can beside the tea machine, Qin Rongfang frowned. What are you looking for? Today, other than the elders and Fei Yan, there was only Zhengling who came to drink. Everyone at home usually had teacups. Zhengling was the only one who used a disposable plastic cup, so she found it quickly. Yi Er carefully held the bottom of the cup and put it into the plastic bag. This was what she had learned from the people from the disciplinary committee who were there to collect evidence. Oh, when Zhengling came today, she wore a hat and purposely dressed to be fat. I went to the CCTV to take a look. It can't be proven that she sent the fruit basket, but I poured her some water. She drank it too. I don't know if this can be used to find fingerprints and DNA. Although there aren't many clues, I still want to try. Qin Rongfang watched as Yi Er lowered her head and knelt on the ground to tie a knot in the plastic bag. The corner of his mouth twitched, and his voice was filled with displeasure. He asked again, "This is the method you thought of?" Yi Er did not stand up, but knelt straighter. She was not as afraid as before. She looked at Qin Rongfang calmly and said, "I went to find Zhengling tonight. She was deliberately hiding from me. I searched a few places before I found her. I feel that this matter has something to do with Jiang Zhao's secretary, Lu Cheng. Zhengling and Lu Cheng are boyfriend and girlfriend. Lu Cheng is a civil servant. I know that he is focused on his future and does not have any extra money. Zhengling's photography studio is not big either. Money and gold bricks are understandable, but that 9-carat diamond is too expensive. It's not something that an ordinary jeweler would have, so they can't afford it. There should be someone behind them. If such an expensive diamond was sold, we should be able to find out the background of the person who bought the diamond. Yes, we can try. Qin Rongfang said in a very official manner. Old Master Jiang's eyes were filled with approval. Yi Er lowered her head gently and knelt between Qin Rongfang and Old Master Jiang. Old Master Jiang could not bear it. At times like this, he would always think of his eldest granddaughter-in-law. He gave Qin Rongfang a look, indicating that it was enough. Yi Er also had no choice. The Yun family did not have any rules that required her to kneel. However, Qin Rongfang's first sentence scared her. He said that not only was Jiang Zhao the mayor, but even if he became the chairman, she would have to kneel if he asked her to. Now, she could be said to be a scapegoat. In the face of such a strict family, she did not dare to say anything. In the face of love, there was no such thing as a scapegoat. The elders in the family said that they wanted to take her marriage certificate and turn it into a divorce certificate. She could not afford to offend them. If she was wronged, then she would be humiliated. If she was not wronged, then she deserved it. So, she deserved it. It was all her fault. Just when Old Master Jiang thought Yi Er was going to cry again, Yi Er raised her head and looked at the elders with a smile. Grandpa, Dad, Mom, are you hungry? Shall I cook some supper for you? Qin Fian touched his forehead. This was simply a wolf's den. Little Red Riding Hood had fallen into the wolf's den pitifully. Look at how she was bullied. This was similar to the old society's abuse of indentured servants. Look at the little girl's pitiful face. Oh, please don't let brother know that his wife is about to become a servant. Qin Rongfang sat until now and was indeed a little hungry. But when he thought about how he had to act in front of his granddaughter-in-law today, he deliberately pretended to be pretentious. It's hard to get old and thin. There's no need for supper. Old Master Jiang coughed heavily and glared at Qin Rongfang. When he slowly turned to look at Yi Er, he said, there's no need for supper. A small bowl per person is enough. Remember not to eat too greasy. Old people can't eat too greasy. Pfft. Qin Fian turned his back. He had better grind the coffee himself. A bunch of shameless old men. Yi Er quickly stood up and looked at Qin Zhen. Mum, what about you? I'm not picky. What about Dad? I'm not picky either. Qin Fian had just scolded that group of shameless old men in his heart. At this time, he also interrupted. Hey, sister-in-law, I'm not picky either. There was evidence of Jiang Xiao's bribery. If there was no evidence to prove his innocence, the investigation would continue. Within the legal time frame, Jiang Xiao could not contact anyone outside. Jiang Xiao rested in the place specially arranged by the Commission for Discipline Inspection. He fell asleep very quickly. There were all kinds of places to rest. There was a surveillance camera. The Commission for Discipline Inspection looked at the surveillance footage. Secretary Fang, isn't this Jiang Xiao too calm? He's simply an old fox. Secretary Fang of the Commission for Discipline Inspection placed his hands on the table and looked at the screen. He said to the staff earnestly, "Don't look at our comrades with colored glasses. Calmness is a quality that our team needs." But he's resisting the investigation. The staff was very dissatisfied with the results of the questioning during the day. Jiang Xiao was a green bean that did not move at all. There was no way to deal with him. You can't say that. Maybe Comrade Jiang Xiao only knows so much about the situation. He's just telling the truth. Secretary Fang hoped from the bottom of his heart that Jiang Xiao was wronged. In this way, he could be at ease. However, he was also very worried that the scales in his heart would be tilted because of this. Therefore, he only watched the case and did not directly participate in it. The staff sneered contemptuously. If a person like Jiang Xiao is pulled out of corruption, who knows how dirty his background is? It's all because his family is powerful. Otherwise, what ability can he have? In fact, this was the deep-rooted hatred of the rich and handsome man that she had for him. Secretary Fang raised his hand and pressed on the screen. He glanced at the quiet scene on the screen and stood up straight. He patted the staff member on the shoulder. He sighed softly. "Comrade, you have to believe in the party spirit that our comrade has." Jiang Xiao's political achievements over the years are obvious to all. Many years ago, when he was still the director of the Planning Bureau, he proposed that investors should not bring in factories that pollute the environment. The factories in the urban areas should be moved out, and the suburbs should be built and developed into tourism as urban planning. At that time, economic interests were more important than anything else. How many people opposed it? But now, when the surrounding cities are troubled by these problems, our Haicheng's problems have almost been straightened out. This is only one of the problems. Putting aside the matter of the bribery now, let's just talk about the problem of Jiang Xiao's ability. You can't judge Comrade Jiang Xiao with colored glasses just because he has reached such a high position at such a young age. His ability is worthy of his current position. If you don't believe me, you can compare these people you know and make a list. Secretary Fang, I didn't. The staff was a little embarrassed. He really couldn't compare. Comrade, when we work for the Commission for Discipline Inspection, we have to judge things as they are. Don't be too emotional. Don't judge a person based on personal feelings, understand? Zheng Ling curled up on the ground and trembled. No matter how Lu Qing tried to persuade her, it was useless. She kept repeating, "Am I going to jail? Am I going to jail?" Lu Qing squatted by the side and put his arm around Zheng Ling's shoulder. He patted her gently. "No, don't think too much. Yi Er said that she won't let me off. Yi Er said that she won't let Jiang Xiao be wronged. Lu Qing, I shouldn't have gone. I've already said that it's useless. Yi Er won't get a divorce. Lu Qing, why do you think? Why did that person want Yi Er and Jiang Xiao to get a divorce? What good does it do for him? Lu Qing, what should we do? If Jiang Xiao is acquitted and released, will it harm you? Lu Qing." Zheng Ling was suddenly shocked. She grabbed Lu Chang's hand and said anxiously, "Yi Er said that she wants to take the cup for testing to prove that I went to her house. If she sues me for framing her, I might as well insist that I bribed her. Anyway, I'm done for. If I bribed her, Jiang Xiao really did bribe her. If he's guilty, he can't get out and can't take revenge on you." Beauty Novel, Hung Cha 866. Chapter 675. Lu Qing scolded, "What nonsense are you thinking? Don't spout nonsense. Boo-hoo. What should I do? What should I do? Zhengling cried as she threw herself into Lu Cheng's arms. It's all my mom's fault. She's a burden to you. Lu Cheng held Zhengling's shoulders and stood up. I'll just scold her. You're her biological daughter. Don't scold her. The more you scold her, the angrier she gets. Yi Er had cooked vinegar noodles. It was very light. Just smelling the vinegar made her salivate. She filled a small bowl for each of them. Yi Er also filled a small bowl for herself. She sat down but did not eat. Qin Fian sat opposite her according to seniority. He looked over. Fian, do you know any jewelry merchants in Haicheng? Qin Fian ate the noodles gracefully. He chewed slowly until there was no more food in his mouth. I have a product launch at the provincial swimming pool tomorrow morning. It should be over in an hour. I'll come and pick you up at 10. Yi Er nodded. Those people took the diamond away yesterday. We don't have any detailed information. Can you think of a way to get the testing data of the diamond, including the quality and cutting method? The more detailed the information, the easier it is to find the original seller, right? Qin Rongfang drank some sour noodle soup and smacked his lips. He glanced at Yi Er and lowered his head to eat his noodles. Let Chua Hao help you with this. It's not convenient for Lai Qing to help you. If you need anything, give him a call later and ask him to cooperate with you. In Qin Rongfang's eyes, he always felt that Yi Er was too young and that his grandson had to pamper his wife. But as her grandfather, he had to think of a way to make this granddaughter-in-law mature slowly. How could the daughter-in-law of a wealthy family be like a child waiting for others to take care of her for the rest of her life? Maturity was a must. Yi Er was surprised that Qin Rongfang was willing to help her. She was flattered. Thank you, Grandpa. Tell me what you need to prepare. Those in the family who can cooperate with you will do so, Qin Rongfang added. Okay. Yi Er gripped the ivory chopsticks tighter and tighter. At the long table, everyone was engrossed in eating and seemed to be ignoring her. However, she clearly felt a different kind of atmosphere. There was a warm and moist feeling surging in her heart. Her whole body had recovered from the cold and had regained some of its senses. The next morning, at the provincial swimming pool, the weather in February was still a little cold, and the temperature in the swimming pool was not high. Xia Qian wore a sweater and a jacket over it. Today was the press conference of a high-end swimming product of the Qin Group. Not only did they invite the popular idol group, but they also invited the diving queen, Shou, to dive on the high platform. Although there were celebrities present, the scene was very orderly and not chaotic. The patriotic enthusiasm and basic quality of the Chinese people. Xia Qian felt very gratified when she saw that it was on point. However, because of the arrival of the new director of the product company, Qin Fian, all of this turned into chaos. It wasn't that Xia Qian didn't know that the person who came today was Qin Fian, but she felt that she was going to be an excellent host with quality and strong resistance to pressure in the future. Even if she was asked to interview Ben Layden, she should tie her head to her belt and stiffen her back. So, what was Qin Fian to her? Wasn't it just a little conflict? The quality of the media was fully demonstrated at this time. In the beginning, they were very formal with their questions about the idol group and the diving queen. Now, they began to question Qin Fian. CEO Qin, are you under any pressure from your family? Please call me Chairman Qin, not CEO Qin, Qin Fian corrected them with a smile. For someone as coquettish as Qin Fian, even though it was such a formal product launch, even though the temperature of the swimming pool was several degrees lower than the temperature outside, he was still able to wear a pink shirt with 3 buttons undone, revealing his seductive chest. His sapphire blue suit was stylish and fitting. Xia Qian could not squeeze in. She could only look at the flirtatious man and beat her chest. Today's opportunity did not come easily. She had to ask 2 explosive questions. It turned out that all the paparazzi were like her. Today, they were here for Qin Fian. What was there to be polite about? None of the questions asked were of good quality. Chairman Qin, are you under any pressure from your family? Did your grandfather order you to end your homosexual life and carry on the family line? This was what everyone wanted to know. Xia Qian jumped up. As she landed, the pear blossom portrait of Bo Dandelion danced in the air. She waved her hand and held the microphone. Chairman Qin, Chairman Qin. She had just shouted when she was drowned out, so she jumped up and shouted again. May I ask if you are the top or bottom? Wow! There was an uproar. The smile on Qin Fian's face did not change for a moment. He was as devilish as he could be. He adjusted the glasses on the bridge of his nose. But in his heart, he thought, this damned woman is haunting me. Actually, I think it's better to let everyone think about this question. In this way, you can have many issues to write about. It's not easy to make money, right? Suddenly, a little girl rushed up. Fian, even if you only like men, I will still silently like you. Because of this girl, the chaos alarm went off again. In the midst of the shoving, the girl screamed, ah. I touched Fian's chest. It's so good. It's so firm. Pia. A slap to the ear. But because the scene was in a mess, no one knew who hit her. The girl roared, who hit me? The chaos continued to heat up. The crowd unknowingly squeezed Qin Fian and Xia Qian together. That girl still wanted to find Qin Fian. When someone tried to stop her, someone else tried to push her. As a result, Qin Fian and Xia Qian's positions were pushed further and further back. They retreated to the edge of the pool, which was convenient for diving. Not far to the right was the springboard. Qin Fian, whom Xia Qian had been looking for, was actually beside her. She immediately asked excitedly, Qin Fian, are you a top or a bottom? Tell me, I won't tell anyone. Qin Fian rolled his eyes at Xia Qian. Really? I won't tell you or anyone else. Xia Qian pulled Qin Fian's clothes. Qin Fian pushed Xia Qian away in disgust. Xia Qian raised her arms to keep her balance, but it was useless. Just as she felt that she was going to fall off the stage, she grabbed the hem of Qin Fian's flashy suit. Qin Fian usually loved to exercise. At this critical moment, he raised his arm and grabbed the edge of the pool. His clothes were being held by someone and it was very uncomfortable. He hated this woman. Xia Qian raised her head and smiled at Qin Fian, hoping that he could be the hero and save the beauty. But when she saw the man above her holding the edge of the stage with one hand and unbuttoning his suit with the other, she immediately panicked. What did this man mean? Did he think that she was too heavy? He wanted to throw her down. Hey! Qin Fian, aren't you going to be the hero and save the beauty? Qin Fian sneered at the beauty. You're beautiful. With your body that's like a concrete slab. Xia Qian was stunned. This damn man, how dare he insult her? Qin Fian's arm strength was excellent, at least Xia Qian thought so. If anyone else had slipped, they would have fallen off the stage. But it was too noisy on the stage. The voices above had already drowned out her cries for help. Because everyone wanted to see the celebrity and Qin Fian cut the ribbon, there was no one below the stage. And it happened in such a short time, so it didn't attract anyone's attention. Just as Qin Fian took off his suit, Xia Qian quickly grabbed onto Qin Fian's pants. It wasn't summer now. She didn't want to fall and become a drowned rat. Take it off if you dare. Take off your pants if you dare. She didn't believe it. Xia Qian tightened her grip and hugged onto Qin Fian's legs. But when Xia Qian heard the sound of a belt being unbuckled, she went crazy. Hey! Qin Fian. Do you have any shame? You want to take off your pants in front of a woman? The man above her chuckled. You don't have to look. You'll be in the headlines. You'll be in the headlines. It's a good thing to increase exposure. Qin Fian continued to hold on to the edge of the stage with one hand and unbuckled his belt with the other. Qin Fian. I'm a bastard. Do you have any integrity? Huh? Qin Fian lowered his head. He changed his charming smile into a gentlemanly one and said very seriously, integrity. Hee, miss, I'm sorry. My integrity is broken, all over the ground. Ha! Qin Fian. You'll die a horrible death. I curse you that you can't get hard when you're on top and explode when you're on the receiving end. Xia Qian roared. This man wanted to take off his pants in front of everyone. When they fell into the water, all the cameras would focus on him and no one would care about her. She didn't bring any dry clothes. The February wind was still cold. Once she left the swimming pool, wouldn't she freeze to death? It was true that a man was beautiful and seductive, but it was wrong for him to wander around with his electric eyes and cause a commotion when he was gay. It was not wrong for a man to be refined and cultured, but it was wrong for him to wear a pair of glasses without lenses to pretend to be refined. It was not wrong for a man to have no integrity, but to have no integrity in front of a woman and admit that he had no integrity, it was a big mistake. Xia Qian felt that Qin Fian was smearing the reputation of the Qin family's ancestors by doing such an immoral thing. However, Qin Fian had smeared the reputation of the Qin family many times, so it shouldn't be that big of a difference, right? Just as Xia Qian saw that the pants were about to fall off, she used the physical strength that she had gained through training every day to push herself up and tugged on the man's underwear. You're not afraid of embarrassing yourself? Fine. I'll make you lose it more thoroughly. Yi Er looked at the clock on the wall and felt that time was passing very slowly. She remembered that Qin Fian said that there was a press conference at the provincial swimming pool. She might as well go and look for him herself. That way, she could save some time. Hence, she picked up her handbag and picked up her phone to call Qin Fian. No one answered, so she sent a message. Fian, I'm going to look for you now. When you receive this message, wait for me over there. That way, we can save some time. Wait for me. Come and see, Xinwu 799. Chapter 676. Yi Er drove to the provincial swimming pool and called Qin Fian's cell phone again, but there was still no answer. She found a parking spot on the side of the road and parked her car. The old man who collected parking fees brought over a timer and recorded the license plate number. Yi Er took the time slip and put it in her handbag. Then she walked over to the provincial swimming pool. At this time, the noise by the pool under the high platform of the swimming pool was still going on. It didn't take Yi Er much effort to find Qin Fian. As long as she asked a little, she would know what had happened just now. The general story was that Qin Fian was molested by a young reporter named Xia Qian, who tried to take his underwear. In the process, Qin Fian refused to comply to protect his innocence, and in the end, both of them fell into the water. When Yi Er heard this version of the story, the corner of her mouth twitched. Although she didn't quite believe it, when she thought about how Xia Qian had kissed Qin Fian and touched his chest while eating stinky tofu, she didn't think it was strange or suspicious. Anyway, with Xia Qian's brain, it wasn't like she wouldn't do something like that. But the news of Qin Fian falling into the water to escape from a molester was definitely more entertaining than the news of a diving queen jumping into the water. She really didn't know if this guy did it on purpose or not. However, Qin Fian never had any moral integrity when doing things. He didn't care whether he was from a big family or not. As long as he didn't blatantly kill people and steal their goods, he would do anything shameful. But there was one thing that others could never compare with him. That was, even though he did shameful things, he didn't feel shameful at all. Over time, people also felt that those shameful things that others did were not shameful when they were done by him. Wasn't this a different fate for everyone? Wasn't this a double standard? Yi Er arrived at the pool just in time to see the two of them being fished out of the water. Qin Fian originally wanted to mess with Xia Qian, but because of Yi Er's timely arrival, he couldn't do it. So, when Yi Er called Xiaoya to ask her to send some clothes to Xia Qian, Qin Fian could only grit his teeth and bear with it. Many reporters wanted to take a picture of Qin Fian in his underwear, but the victim, who was wrapped in a large scarf as soon as he came ashore, only gave the crowd a tolerant smile. The press conference will be postponed for 15 minutes. Sorry, although I am the victim, I hope everyone will not pursue the matter too much. I think she was just impulsive. Xia Qian spat out the blood and wiped the water stains on her face. It was unclear whether she was trembling from anger or cold. She raised her hand and pointed at Qin Fian. Qin Fian, what nonsense are you talking about? It's clearly you. You're shameless. He didn't save her. Shameless. I'm shameless. What? Ha, I'm shameless. Did I do that to you? Shall I undress you and take off your pants? Qin Fian's face showed an unreasonable expression as if he couldn't bear it anymore, accompanied by a cold sneer. How dare you? You're saying I'm shameless. You're fully dressed, and you're saying I'm shameless. Everyone in Haicheng knows I'm not interested in women, and you're saying I'm shameless to you? Is there any justice in this society? Countless pairs of eyes expressed sympathy for Qin Fian's tragic experience, and expressed disdain for Xia Qian's filthy behavior. Qin Fian. You've gone too far. Xia Qian brushed away the wet hair stuck to her face and pushed away Qin Fian's assistant, who was supporting Qin Fian. Splash! Qin Fian fell into the water again. This time, Xia Qian jumped into the water faster than the rescuers. She pulled away Qin Fian's towel and shouted loudly, Qin Fian's underwear belongs to CK. Sexy little feet and a perky butt. It feels good. The cameras flashed wildly. 2 hours later, Yi Er was driving while Qin Fian was sleeping in the back seat, feeling tired. Yi Er looked at the rearview mirror. Fian. What? Qin Fian mumbled, sounding a little aggrieved. Yi Er was startled. She also knew that Xia Qian had gone overboard today. Qin Fian had always hated being touched by women. She had only heard about it before, but after they became family, she understood that it was indeed so. Other than his family, Qin Fian kept a distance from women. Today, he was molested by Xia Qian, and she even spoke up for Xia Qian. Qin Fian wanted to take revenge but couldn't. He must have been traumatized. Yi Er listened to Qin Fian's aggrieved voice and felt a little guilty. Qian is still young. Forgive her. She's a little dumb, don't you know that? Why are you mentioning her? Qin Fian was originally leaning his long body towards the driver's seat. At this moment, he turned around angrily and faced the back seat. If you mention her again, I'll tell you to stop the car immediately. I want to go back and skin her alive. Okay, young Master Yan. Ancestor, I won't mention her anymore, okay? Why are you so angry? Yi Er really didn't want to mention her anymore. Qin Fian didn't have much time to be angry, so it was better not to provoke him. Qin Fian had already changed out of his clothes. He didn't look as flashy as he did in the morning. At this moment, he was wearing a black suit and trousers, which perfectly reflected his mood. He touched his empty wrist. He had given the watch to his secretary to absorb water again. This time, it got wet again. He really wanted to chop that wretched woman up. This time, the watch got wet again. He didn't know if it could be repaired properly this time. The car drove to the entrance of the military zone. Zhua Hao stood there, looking dashing and handsome in his military uniform. When he saw Yi Er's car driving over, he took a few steps forward. When the car stopped, he stopped as well. Yi Er rolled down the car window. Zhua Hao passed the bag in his hand to Yi Er and bent over. Sister-in-law, this is the specific information about the diamond. The quality and cutting quality are all of the best quality. It's much more expensive than the average diamond. I'm afraid that the average jeweler wouldn't order this kind of product. Even the big jewelers wouldn't have it on hand at all times. If this kind of diamond isn't readily available in Haicheng, it would take a long time to order. Based on the time, if this diamond, Haozi, let's talk in the car. Yi Er supported her chin and gestured for Zhuahao to sit in the front passenger seat. Her grandfather said that she could ask her family to cooperate with her. Yi Er knew that she was not experienced enough and did not know much about professional knowledge. Zhuahao and the rest were older than her and had more experience in society. Furthermore, Zhuahao had been in the army for a long time. Jiang Zhao always said that Zhuahao was a talented general. He was calm, courageous, and meticulous. At this time, she needed a calm and meticulous person to help her. Zhuahao's military uniform would be very useful. If she brought along Qin Fian and Zhuahao, it would represent the Qin family's power in many areas. Even if others did not give face to her, who was the wife of the mayor, they would still give face to Zhuahao and Qin Fian, who had a bright future. When they saw Zhuahao, they would think of another person who was closely related to Jiang Zhao. That was her father-in-law, Jiang Liqing. Her grandfather said that it was not suitable for her father-in-law to appear. She could understand. If he didn't appear, it would attract gossip. But her grandfather hinted that she could ask Zhuahao for help. That means Zhuahao could go with her. Zhuahao paused for a second and agreed. After getting into the car, Zhuahao looked at Qin Fian, who was sleeping with his back facing them. Hey, what's wrong with you today? Qin Fian was annoyed. Talk about your diamonds. Don't disturb me. Zhuahao was annoyed. Zhuahao snorted. Oh my god. You went underground to play with lava today. Did you get melted? If you don't want to talk about your diamonds, then get out of the car. Zhuahao stretched his body and slapped Qin Fian's butt. I have something important to discuss with my sister-in-law. If you want to get out, then get out. Qin Fian sat up and threw his spectacles aside. He was about to fight with Zhuahao. Yi hurriedly pressed the horn and bowed to the two young masters. She said with a bitter frown, Masters, please don't fight now. Can you get your brother out first and then pick a bigger place to fight? When the time comes, I'll prepare a kitchen knife for you, a sharp knife, any kind of knife, okay? Qin Fian retracted his hand and leaned back. Sister-in-law, you're really vicious to take all the assets for your husband. Go on. Yi Er giggled. Zhuahao glanced at the file Yi Er was opening and said, based on the time, it will probably take for this diamond to reach the buyer. If it took at least 2 months, then this framing has been planned for a long time, unless there is another possibility. Zhuahao slowly stopped talking, and the atmosphere became tense. Qin Fian picked up the glasses beside him and put them back on. What other possibilities are there? Yi Er held the appraisal report in one hand and flicked it on the paper with the other. He looked at Zhuahao with a determined gaze. Unless this diamond was bought a long time ago and it's just a coincidence that it's being used now. Maybe this diamond was prepared by the buyer as a gift for some woman. Zhuahao slapped his thigh. Yes, there's another important piece of information on this report. This diamond has a little scratch, which means that this diamond isn't brand new. It's very likely that it was taken from a ring holder. Also, it wasn't a diamond that was taken from a specialty store. This is a diamond that has been worn by someone before. Yi Er gasped. 9 carats. He shook his head. Who would wear such a big diamond when they go out? It's impossible for a rich madam to wear it unless she attends an event, a banquet, or an important gathering. Yes, it's impossible for an ordinary woman to have such a big and good diamond. If she's a rich madam, or if she's a kept celebrity, if she wears such a big diamond to an event, even if no one hypes it up, there will definitely be rumors. Many women will talk about it. Even my mother likes to talk about these things. It's not just my mother. Sister Zhen, beauty you, as long as she's a woman, it's hard not to pay attention to this. But in all this time, I've never heard my mother talk about such gossip. Yi Er and Qin Fian became more and more suspicious. Qin Fian pinched the space between his eyebrows. It seems like the person who harmed my brother is very powerful. Ad, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 677. Yi Er did not start the car. He waved the results in his hand. Could it be Ouyang Sheng? Impossible. Impossible. Qin Fian and Zhua Hao said at the same time. Yi Er twitched his lips. Am I too simple-minded? Ouyang Sheng wants to marry Ouyang Yan to my brother. But if my brother is ruined, it will be meaningless to them. Furthermore, Ouyang Sheng is asking my grandfather to transfer funds to him. Even if he wants to touch my brother, he will need to wait for some time. Qin Fian analyzed. Yi Er frowned and sighed. Where are we going now? Qin Fian leaned back in his chair. We do not know much about diamonds. But I know the boss of Bandung. Let's go and look for him. Their appraisers will take a look at the diamonds again. Most of the brands will have some special features. Their appraisers might be able to tell at a glance. Once they find the brand and the sales slip, they will be out. Then let's go. In the private room of Zhao Jun, Zhuang Yichen was sitting on the sofa. He was shaking the dice cup slowly. The sound of the dice cups hitting against each other could be heard. It was as if an unknown object was walking in the middle of the night. The indoor elevator door opened with a ding sound. The person who came out of the elevator was the current mayor, Chen Tong. Zhuang Yichen tilted his head and did not get up. Chen Tong walked towards him, and he only smiled at him. Chen Tong's expression was a little ugly. Zhuang Yichen usually treated him like a taboo and spoke nicely to him. At this time, he was sitting there as steady as a mountain and only greeted him with a smile. He was clearly putting on a superior attitude. The private room was quiet, and the atmosphere was heavy. There were only dim lights, and it was empty. Mayor Chen, you are so busy. Zhuang Yichen continued to shake his dice. Have a seat. Chen Tongguan was in a high position. Zhuang Yichen's sudden elevation at this time made him very uncomfortable. He was at a loss of what to do. Moreover, he was invited here today, and he was also very unwilling. As for Zhuang Yichen, the only person he truly respected and accepted as a friend was Jiang Zhao. When a man wanted to do business, he had to first choose the right partner. Just like a business marriage, he had to consider the other family's business projects and understand the strength behind the other family. Although Jiang Zhao was only a deputy mayor, his family's power was unshakable. Jiang Zhao was a self-disciplined person, and he would not easily get involved in any dirty dealings. If Jiang Zhao became partners with someone like this, as long as nothing happened to him, the other party's ship would be a good ship. Jiang Zhao could ride the wind and break through the waves. Obviously, Zhuang Yichen did not respect Chen Tong. Although Chen Tong was the mayor and was also a member of the standing committee, if someone from the top wanted to mess with him, those who were close to him would stay away from him. Unlike Jiang Zhao, if something happened to him, his entire family would not sit back and do nothing. Chen Tong had never been on the same side as Jiang Zhao. Now that Jiang Zhao was in trouble, Chen Tong was more interested than anyone else to know the reason behind it. He might even know about it a long time ago. But he still chose to avoid meeting with Zhuang Yichen. Manager Zhuang, you are so free to come here to play dice in broad daylight. It's fine. You also know that I am free. If I don't play dice, what else can I do? Zhuang Yichen raised his hand and gestured to the stool opposite him. Although the lighting in the private room was not good, Zhuang Yichen could still see Chen Tong's expression. He smiled coldly. Have a seat, Mayor Chen. If Zhuang Yichen smiled coldly, his aura would be intimidating. Usually, when he was doing business, people would only say that he was cool and did not like to smile. But at this moment, Chen Tong felt a sense of fear. But as a government official, he had been through a lot and was not afraid of a businessman. Zhuang Yichen took out the paper bag beside him and took out the photos of a man and a woman entangling with each other. The photos were scattered all over the table. He said, Mayor Chen, you have good stamina. You are busy in the day, and you are also busy at night. Chen Tong looked at the photos on the table and was shocked. Zhuang Yichen. Mayor Chen, you like to stand. But I don't like to look up when I am talking to people. Zhuang Yichen lowered his head and opened the dice cup. He stretched out his long fingers and started to play with the dice. Chen Tong took a deep breath and sat down angrily. I want to know what happened to Mayor Jiang. How can I know? The Commission for Discipline Inspection had always been very strict when it comes to cases. Oh, then where did I hear about this from? How will I know? Chen Tong was not happy with Zhuang Yichen's attitude. Zhuang Yichen shook his head and sighed, the women in these photos are really beautiful. This little Monroe's real name is Chen Lu. She is 22 years old and is from High City's Jing County. Her parents are farmers, and when the government was building a highway, her house was demolished. She had received a sum of compensation for the demolition, but it was not enough to buy a villa in High City's suburbs. So, she could only look for Mayor Chen. Chen Tong was also someone who thought he was good at dealing with government officials. But at this moment, he was shocked. This was not just a matter of style. He was the one who paid for Chen Lu's villa in the suburbs. How can a mayor like him suddenly take out so much money to buy a villa? There must be corruption involved. The person in charge of investigating Jiang Zhao's case is Secretary Zhang from the Commission for Discipline Inspection. I received news that someone had reported Jiang Zhao for accepting bribes. Zhuang Yichen interrupted, I know all about this. But I want to know the details. For example, behind the scenes. The people Jiang Zhao had offended are not his political opponents. They are the tycoons of High City. Because. Chen Tong did not want to say more. Just say it. Don't hide the truth. Your future is much more important than the other tycoons. After all, if I spread these photos and find the witnesses, you will die faster. But if you tell me what I want to know, I can even help others if they want to harm you. If Chen Tong still did not know that Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao were in cahoots, he would be too stupid. Sometimes, it was very irrational to not be on the same side. Now that there was such a big threat in front of him, and it would not be less than Jiang Zhao's case, he had to consider changing his direction. He could only choose the lesser of two evils. He could only go along with Zhuang Yichen's idea and said, that person had approached me. He wanted me to help in this matter. It would be best if Jiang Zhao could not get out of trouble. If Jiang Zhao could not get out of trouble, it would be good for me. Wang Yichen smiled and looked at Chen Tong. I am not interested in how you are going to deal with Jiang Zhao. I just want to know which tycoon is behind this. This. Chen Tong swallowed his saliva. I can't say. Did you receive benefits? No. Zhuang Yichen laughed loudly. Ha, it's normal to receive benefits. In this economic society, receiving benefits is also to make things easier. I have never rejected receiving benefits and giving benefits. Zhuang Yichen paused and looked at Chen Tong with a meaningful smile. Chen Tong licked his lips. If he still dares to accept benefits from Zhuang Yichen, then he would be an idiot. This person was the type of person who would swallow people whole. If he was not confident, he would not threaten him so confidently. Zhuang Yichen said, Mayor Chen, in our society, there are no eternal friends or eternal enemies. That tycoon might be your friend yesterday, but after a while, he will become your enemy. Do you think the Jiang and Qin families are pushovers? It was fine if the truth could not be uncovered. But it was impossible for the truth to not be uncovered. The girl who gave Mrs. Jiang the gift was Zheng Ling. She was Mrs. Jiang's classmate, and Mrs. Jiang had helped her a lot. It was easy for people to do stupid things when they are confused. But what if she regrets her actions one day and confesses? What will happen to the grasshopper on the rope? If Mayor Chen does not get rid of this rope as soon as possible, the Jiang and Qin families might throw this rope into the fire and burn it to ashes. What should we do then? Chen Tong's line of reasoning was broken by Zhuang Yichen, but he still stood his ground. As a government official, how can he achieve great things if he gives in when he is threatened? Also, if that family was exposed, he would also be exposed. There are too many implications. Zhuang Yichen nodded in agreement. Mayor Chen was right. But the Qin family was the most powerful family in Haicheng, and no one knew which family had the guts to do this. Everyone knew that Old Master Qin doted on his grandson as if he was his direct grandson. Old Master Qin had publicly announced that other than his direct grandson, his other two grandsons would also get to enjoy his inheritance. Think about it, which wealthy family in Haicheng would treat their grandsons as if they were their direct grandsons? Jiang Zhao and Zhua Hao are exceptions. I am afraid that Jiang Zhao had suffered a lot this time. But he is not afraid of suffering. The Jiang family has always been strict, and he has been suffering since he was young. But I am afraid that the Jiang and Qin families will not be willing to accept this injustice. Haha, now I am very interested to see which wealthy family Mayor Chen is relying on. How are they going to fight with the Jiang and Qin families? A wealthy family with such a big red door. In the entire eastern region, the Jiang and Qin families and the Jiang and Wen families are the most powerful families. In Jiangzhou, no one dares to touch Jiang Zhao, Jiang Feng, and Jiang Ji. Do you think that in Haicheng, there is someone who dares to touch Jiang Zhao? Chen Tong's psychological defense was completely broken. He asked in a deep voice, "How are you going to protect me?" Zhuang Yichen suddenly understood and smiled. You are not involved in this, right? Yes, I am not involved. That's good. How can a mayor who is not involved in anything be implicated? Although Chen Tong did not dare to trust Zhuang Yichen anymore, Zhuang Yichen's words were like a sharp knife that cut open the rotten corpse inch by inch and scraped out the bones. His purpose was to see the bloody and cruel consequences. He could not afford to lose. In the past, he wanted to suppress Jiang Zhao. But after Zhuang Yichen reminded him, he finally gave up that dream. He sighed. Xi Chang. Come and see, Hengcha 866. Chapter 678. When Chen Tong left, he didn't get any promises from Zhuang Yichen on how to protect him. He kept twisting and twisting, revealing his weakness. The current situation made him very passive. Qin Fian had just contacted the boss of Bandung when Zhuang Yichen called. Fian, it's me. Yichen. Put the clues on Hu Jinchang. He was the one who started this. Are you sure? Yes, I heard it from Chen Tong. But if you have a more accurate clue, don't miss it. Don't let go of this opportunity. It's best if we can make it happen. Okay. It was time for Jiang Zhao's lunch break. He went back to the break room and lay down to sleep. He didn't have any work or trivial matters for the past 2 days. He quietly thought about some things and sorted them out one by one. Before he was investigated, his father had told him that the photos and rumors with Ouyang Yan were done by Ouyang Sheng. Actually, when he heard this news, he wasn't shocked. The reason why he wasn't shocked wasn't because he knew it was done by Ouyang Yan, but because he felt that it was good that it happened. Now that he thought about it, Yi Er had just gotten better and his head was injured, and he went to hold a press conference. At that time, he felt that he was more or less being used. Now that he thought about it, if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have been able to provoke Yi Er. It was quite good. Now that the two of them had a good relationship, nothing else mattered. Whatever scandals, credit cards, caught in bed, it was all in the past. It was all in the past. But since there was a word to calculate, then just like what he said to Ouyang Sheng, calculate it clearly. Calculate it clearly so that it would be easier to collect debts. He thought about many people who had trapped him in the bribery ring. Chen Tong. Ouyang Sheng. Even Zhou Li. In his eyes, he had never thought of Zhou Li as a good person. When Yi Er wasn't around, he didn't even want to say the word, Mom. How was that woman worthy of being Yi Er's mother? It was probably because she couldn't get the custody back, so she did it on purpose. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He really wasn't in a hurry. Too many things had happened in the past few months, one after another. Instead of waiting for him to find clues, it was better to wait until he was about to die and see who would pop up. The person who popped up might not necessarily be the one who put him in the trap of bribery, but he would definitely be at odds with him. Sooner or later, he would go against him. When that time came, he would reel in the net together. However, she did not know how Yi Er was doing. She had no way of contacting him. When he calmed down, he really missed her. Jiang Zhao lay on the bed. When he closed his eyes, Yi Er wormed its way into his brain. Inside the CEO's office at Xi Empire, Xi Jintian was talking to old Master Jiang on the phone. "Old man, why did you come to High City again? Come out for dinner tonight." "What? No time." "Old fart, you came to see City and didn't even eat with me. You dare to say that you're not free? Do you want to die? Cut the crap. Let me tell you, it's just us old guys for dinner tonight. Don't call the young people over. You really dare?" Xi Jintian suddenly changed his agitated tone. "Old Jiang, did something happen? Why did you come over if nothing happened? It has something to do with Xiao Xiao, right? You only have one grandson in High City. If Xiao Xiao hadn't gotten into trouble, would I have thought that you came over because you missed me? Okay, I'm hanging up. I'll contact you another day when you're done with your matters." Unwu raised his head when he heard the two words, Xiao Xiao, until Xi Jintian hung up the phone. "Grandpa, did something happen to Jiang Zhao?" "I don't know what happened yet. Old Jiang refuses to say now. He said that we'll have dinner together in a few days. Aren't you guys on good terms? Why didn't he tell you? He's afraid that I'll worry if I find out. Grandpa, why don't we pay a visit to the Qin residence tonight?" Unwu asked expectantly. "Brat, are you hoping that something will happen to Jiang Zhao so that you can covet other people's women?" "Grandpa." Unwu felt bored. He just yelled and lowered his head to do his work. "Hurry up and arrange a meeting with the daughters of High City. You can put aside the engagement. I don't want to get married. I'll be single for the rest of my life." "You," Xi Jintian said resentfully. "You're making your grandpa angry because of someone else's woman. You'll be very happy when I die one day." "Jianichang," Yi Er said. When he heard Qin Fian say that there was a mastermind behind the scenes, he was so shocked that he couldn't say anything. Zhua Hao said, "Sister-in-law, he seems to be a relative of the Yun family, right?" Yi Er stopped the car by the roadside. "Haozi, you drive. I'm not very focused. I'm afraid that I'll drive the wrong way." "Okay." Yi Er and Zhua Hao both unbuckled their seatbelts, opened the car door, and changed seats. Yi Er sat in the front passenger seat and stared blankly ahead. "Jianichang is my father's cousin. According to seniority, we're both in the Shi generation. When I was young, I called him uncle." Qin Fian sat in the back seat and asked with interest, "But if he's really the mastermind behind this, why?" Yi Er pursed his lips. "He can't have children anymore and doesn't have any children. He's trying to get custody of Si Jie." Zhua Hao was surprised. How could he want custody of Si Jie? Si Jie has an older sister and a father. It can't be his turn, right? Yi Er leaned his head against the pillow and felt a little weak. "But if my father is in jail and I don't have a good income, Jianichang is Si Jie's uncle and Zhou Yan is Si Jie's aunt. Do you think it'll be difficult to get custody of Si Jie?" Zhua Hao nodded. "So, right now, my brother is the biggest stumbling block. Because of my brother's ability, he can't snatch Si Jie's custody rights, but once my brother collapses, no one will dare to take responsibility for Uncle Yun's matters. Then, when the time comes, he'll have a greater chance of winning." Yi Er knew that Zhua Hao's analysis was right. Many things overlapped. Ever since Zhou Li came to ask for custody, Zhou Yan, who represented Jianichang, never appeared again. Was it a coincidence? Or was it that the few of them had something to do with each other? He had really become a huge burden. The intertwined roots were all because of his family, which had caused Jiang Zhao to become like this. Yi Er felt like there were thorns in his heart. When he breathed, his organs would not touch the thorns in his heart. It was very painful. Sister-in-law, don't you think there's something very strange? Qin Fian asked as he wiped the rims of his glasses with a handkerchief. Yi Er came back to his senses and tilted his head. His voice was behind him, but he did not turn around. What? Qin Fian lowered his head and wiped the rims of his glasses. His eyes were bright and full of wisdom. When the corners of his mouth curled up, there was a slight hint of mockery. Jiani Chang and Si Jie don't have much of a relationship. Just because they're cousins, he wants Si Jie's custody at all costs. You have to know that Si Jie is no longer a baby. It's impossible to dig out the memories of a 10-year-old child. We still have the beautiful and painful memories of our childhood. If this battle is fought on a grand scale, won't it leave a scar on Si Jie's heart? And from an emotional point of view, how could Si Jie be willing to follow his uncle and not his older sister? Even if Jiani Chang wins the lawsuit, would Si Jie be a good son? If that's the case, wouldn't he be raising a tiger and inviting calamity? Even if he can't have children, he can find a hospital or an orphanage and adopt a healthy baby boy. It won't be a big problem at all. Wouldn't it be better to have a baby who doesn't have the memories of his childhood? The thought that Yi Er didn't want to face in his heart circled around in his mind again. He suddenly realized that his family was becoming uglier and uglier in front of outsiders. If that was really the case, what would Jiang Zhao think of him? What would he think of Si Jie? What would he think of Dad? Yi Er's eyes became blurry with tears. He calmed himself down and said after a while, I don't know what he's thinking either. Sister-in-law, I think we shouldn't look for Jiani Chang now. We should look for your mother. Why? Yi Er suddenly turned around and looked at Qin Fian in the back seat in surprise. Qin Fian put the frame back on his face and smiled faintly. The first thing we need to do now is to find out the owner of this diamond. I think your mother might know. Like Housie said, women love these things. It's in their nature. Maybe she knows some gossip. Qin Fian didn't dare to be sure of his thoughts, but it was really unbelievable that Jiani Chang was willing to go against the Jiang and Qin families at all costs. It should be known that even if Ouyang Sheng hated Jiang Zhao to the core, he wouldn't dare to be so heavy-handed in such a short period of time. Unless what? Unless Jiang Zhao destroyed Jiani Chang's interests above all else. Yi Er didn't want to prove it, but she couldn't give up any chance to save Jiang Zhao. For every second she avoided, Jiang Zhao would suffer for another second. At this moment, Yi Er was in pain. Qin Fian wanted to take her to prove a cruel fact, a fact that Si Jie was closely related to Jiani Chang. Maybe it wasn't the truth, she comforted herself. Maybe it was only because they were cousins with a little blood relation that Jiani Chang had that kind of hope. In the tea house, 4 people sat at a square table. Zhou Li was wearing a pair of big-toed glasses, but it still couldn't cover the bruises on her face. Yi Er deliberately didn't look. Qin Fian was a businessman. He could treat anything he sat down to talk about as business. Some business could be done in a roundabout way, while some business needed to be done directly. He stretched out his arm and put the photo and appraisal report in his hand in front of Zhou Li, who was sitting on his left. His smile was casual and devilish. Aunt Zhou, it took a lot of effort to take off such a beautiful diamond. It's 9 carats. If the diamond was lost, it wouldn't be as easy to find the ring. Zhou Li looked at the photo in front of her and was stunned. At this moment, she suddenly raised her head and looked at Qin Fian, who had a calm expression on his face. Her heart was beating so fast that it was as if she had heard a ghost in the quiet night. Her feet under the table trembled irregularly. Awesome novel, Hengcha 866. Chapter 679. Although Yi Er avoided looking at Zhou Li's injury in detail, the tea house was made of wooden floors. Zhou Li's exquisite high heels landed on the floor. Because her feet were trembling nervously, the heels of her shoes bounced lightly on the wooden floor with messy, tap-tap-tap-tap sounds. The sound. Yi Er could not help but look over. He saw that Zhou Li's hand was already looking at the photo of the naked diamond. Her lips were trembling non-stop, but she did not speak. Yi Er closed his eyes again and listened to the sound of the guzheng strings echoing in the high-end tea house. But all of this was nothing compared to the sound of Zhou Li's heavy breathing that poured into his ears. I don't know what you mean. Zhou Li threw the photo away as if throwing away a hot potato. Is that so? Shuo Hao was wearing an intimidating military uniform. His fingertips were drawing circles on the edge of the cup as he asked leisurely, actually, I'm just curious. How could such a high-quality South African large-carat diamond be so neglected? What a pity. The scratches on it can't be cleaned up by going to a store for maintenance. Even if you sell it second-hand, it won't be worth the price it used to be. What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Zhou Li stood up. Shuo Hao immediately stood up. His height and the aura of the military uniform scared Zhou Li so much that she took a small step back. She knocked into the chair and immediately fell back down. You don't understand. You ordered Jingling to send a fruit basket with stolen goods in it. You still say you don't understand. Do you want me to provide you with the history of this diamond from its birth to its end? How nice would it be if you sent 101-carat diamonds? It wouldn't be easy to investigate. Why do you have to send such a large amount and such a high-quality one? Don't you know that the rarer something is, the more valuable it is? Rare and expensive things are always easy to investigate. Do you understand? Zhou Li was a little woman who had not experienced big things. When faced with threats and provocations, she quickly couldn't stand it. The reason she came out was that Yi Er said that he was willing to talk to her about Si Jie's custody. He said that now that something had happened at home, she would consider letting go of Si Jie's custody. Yuan Shichang was pressing hard. Of course, it would be best if Yi Er was willing to let go of the custody at this time. However, she never expected that he would not come to talk about custody, but to ask about the diamond. She still clearly remembered that Yuan Shichang had taken out the ring that he had given her. In the beginning, he had used a sharp knife to pry it open around the diamond holder. Later, he had even found a pair of sharp pliers to twist the diamond holder. He had been so wild and had even said that she did not deserve his gift. He could have taken it to the shop to get it, but he didn't want to. He destroyed it himself. She knew he was furious with her. All these years, he had never treated her like this. Because of their son's custody, he had quarreled with her time and time again. The matter of framing Jiang Zhao had been decided a long time ago. If they still refused to let go of the custody, it would have to be carried out. Yuan Shichang was a careful person. He knew that it would be difficult to set a trap for Jiang Zhao. However, Yi Er had a good friend called Zhengling who quickly found out. Zhengling's mother was greedy and snobbish, so she was quickly hooked up with someone and won a lot of money. Later on, even though she lost a lot of money, she kept trying to recoup her losses. She kept borrowing money from loan sharks. In the end, the amount was so large that even if Zhengling sold the studio, he would not be able to pay it back. Moreover, Yuan Shichang's motive was not for Zhengling's mother to pay the money back, but to use all means to threaten Zhengling. If he wanted to keep Zhengling's mother intact, Zhengling would definitely betray Yi Er. There was only one choice. According to their thinking, now that Yi Er and Jiang Zhao had feelings for each other, if something happened to Jiang Zhao, Yi Er would take the blame for Jiang Zhao. The only way to not implicate Jiang Zhao was to quietly get a divorce. As long as they were related, they could even adjust the system time to the day before the divorce. The Qin family had the ability to do so. However, Yi Er did not get a divorce. Instead, she came looking for them. You want me to go to jail? Zhou Li did not answer Zhuo Hao's question. Instead, she blurted out a sentence without rhyme or reason. To prevent her hands from trembling, she gripped the armrest of the wooden chair tightly. Her sunglasses covered her eyes, but her voice was filled with panic. Are you sending me to jail? Yi Er suddenly opened her eyes. She realized a problem. It was not Si Jie's problem, but if this was really Yuan Shichang's doing, and if Zhou Li was also involved, and Jiang Zhao returned home safely, then besides Jingling and Yuan Shichang, Zhou Li would also be in jail. She had once called her by her name. Zhou Li, leave. Don't ever appear in front of me again. At that time, she really did not want to see this woman again. However, she had messed up her life and caused her father to be hospitalized and in a coma. She had a good life, but she did not want to live it. She just had to disturb her father's peace. Not wanting to see her forever did not mean that she wanted to send her to jail. It was fine as long as she lived a good life in another corner of the world. Jiang Zhao had once said angrily that such a mother was not worthy of being a mother. She also knew that such a mother was not worthy. But they had lived together for 17 years since they were young. There were too many memories that she could not let go of. If she could let go of them, she would not have cried so sadly when she said those words to Zhou Li outside her father's emergency room. Zhou Li, I want to know what you used to threaten Jingling. Zhou Li heard Yi Er call her name in front of Zhuahao and Qin Fian. Zhuahao was slightly surprised, but Qin Fian did not seem surprised. Zhou Li sat up a little straighter and lowered her head. Her voice was soft and panicked. Her mother owes a huge amount of gambling money. Her photography studio and house have been foreclosed. All of her savings and Lu Cheng's money have been taken away. In order to save her mother's hands and feet, Yi Er bit her lip. No one could hear her crying. They only saw her face covered in tears. She did not speak. When she spoke, she sobbed. As Yi Er bit her lip, she felt that the taste on her tongue was no longer salty. She was angry. Qin Fian pulled out a tissue in a panic. He opened Yi Er's mouth and wiped the blood on her lips for her. Sister-in-law, calm down. Yi Er stood up and stared at Zhou Li who was sitting down. She smiled sadly. Calm down. How can I calm down? How can there be mothers like you in this world? How can there be mothers like you? If it's not gambling, it's chaos. Why did you give birth to a child? Why did you give birth to a child? When you gave birth, why didn't you strangle the child to death? This was what Yi Er was thinking at this moment. She thought about why Zhou Li didn't just strangle her to death back then. In order to save her mother's hands and feet, Zheng Ling chose to betray her friend. Even if her mother ruined her career and family beyond recognition, she could only be used by others. Because there was no time to think of a solution, there was no extra. She had so much time to think of a solution. Even Lu Cheng's money had been taken away. What kind of mother was she? And this mother of hers was even more ridiculous. Her son and daughter could have lived together without any worries for Wu Yu, but she had to destroy it for her own selfish desires. She destroyed it so naturally. With just a sentence, I have my reasons, she completely destroyed it. Ever since Zhou Li was scolded by Yi Er last time, she felt guilty every time she thought about it. She did not even dare to look Yi Er in the eye. When Yi Er said such heartbroken words, she could not help but cover her face and cry. Yi Er, I didn't want things to be like this either. I've said so many times that I only want Si Jie's custody. I only want Si Jie's custody, but you refused to give it to me. If you had given up Si Jie's custody earlier, none of this would have happened. Are you blaming me? Yi Er's smile was full of pain. Qin Fian kept rubbing tissue on Yi Er's face. Then he pressed down on her shoulders and asked her to sit down. Logically speaking, he and Zhuahao should stay away from such family matters, but he felt that Yi Er was family. Zhou Li's actions were not family. If a family member was bullied, what would they do? All he could do was to stay there in silence. You should have told me earlier why you were so insistent on snatching Si Jie's custody. If you had told me clearly, I would have considered it. I would have tried to find a compromise to resolve this matter. But have you told me anything? You didn't. From the beginning to the end. You lied to me. You lied to me, and you still blame me. Other than saying that you have your reasons, what else did you say? You hid so many things from me. Who can you blame? Yi Er's agitated voice became louder and louder. The originally quiet tea room suddenly became a tea house. Zhua Hao immediately got up and asked the waiter to bring a screen to block the scene of the quarrel. He also instructed the second floor not to arrange for anyone to come up. Zhou Li was stunned for a moment. She immediately ran over to Yi Er, who was sitting opposite her. She grabbed Yi Er's hand and said, "Yi Er, tell mommy. Tell mommy. Do you want to send mommy to jail because of Jiang Zhao? Do you want mommy to go to jail?" Huh? Zhou Li took the glasses off her face. Yi Er saw a shocking scar on the bridge of her nose and around her eyes. It was already very swollen and badly bruised. When she frowned, Zhou Li suddenly knelt in front of Yi Er and sobbed, "Yi Er, don't send mommy to jail. Mommy promises that it won't happen again. Yi Er, I beg you. Don't send mommy to jail. Mommy loves you very much, very much." Yi Er hated it when Zhou Li knelt in front of her. She hated it. Zhou Li knelt down and kept saying that she was her mother and that she loved her. She kept reminding her that the person who knelt on the ground and begged her was her mother. God had played a big joke on her. It was said that fate was arranged by God. But one day, when someone asked her who she should save when her husband and mother fell into the river, should God come out and tell her what she should do? Yi Er realized that she was a useless person. Previously, she had already cut ties with Zhou Li and said that she would never see her again. But from the moment she saw this woman today, she could not calm down. When she found out that she was also involved in Jiang Zhao's case, she hated herself even more for not having an abortion when she was still in her mother's womb. She never wanted to see the sun like this again. She saw her mother kneeling in front of her, crying and begging for mercy. She thought of her husband's unknown situation. At this moment, she was like a person who had walked into a desert. A vulture was circling above her head. Just as she was about to fall, the hunter swooped down and pushed her to the ground. His hook-like mouth pecked down hard. His target was her heart. Then, he tore and gnawed. She lay on the ground and watched helplessly as her body was gnawed into a bloody mess. Qin Fian gave Zhua Hao a look. If this was really done by Yuan Shichang and Zhou Li, covering up for Zhou Li would mean covering up for Yuan Shichang. If the mastermind did not come out, Jiang Zhao's case might be cleared. This was a big deal. Welfare, Songshu 566. Chapter 680. Zhua Hao knew that Qin Fian did not like to argue with women. At this moment, he strode over and used his strong physique to pick Zhou Li up from the ground. "Aunt Zhou, you should be thinking about how to explain yourself instead of begging sister-in-law. To put it bluntly, my brother was wronged in this matter, but Yuan Shichang was not. If Yuan Shichang is not found out, my brother will be wronged for the rest of his life. Not to mention the small matter of losing his official position, that 9-carat diamond is enough to sentence him to a very heavy sentence." Yi Er finally came to her senses after hearing Zhua Hao's threatening and reminding words. Nothing must happen to Jiang Zhao. Nothing must happen to Jiang Zhao. If Jiang Zhao collapsed, not only would she lose her pillar of support, the entire family's pillar of support would also be gone. Yuan Shichang should go to jail. If he went to jail, no one would come to snatch her brother away. She did not care about those rotten relationships. She only knew that Si Jia was her brother from the moment he was born. They had been together for 10 years. From the first time she taught him to call her sister, this brother was destined to be hers. Yi Er swayed her body and turned to run away. Qin Fian chased after her and asked Zhua how to restrain Zhou Li. Zhou Li shouted for Yi Er. When Yi Er heard Zhou Li's shout, she ran even faster. Qin Fian chased after Yi Er and pulled her to the side of the car. He took out the key to open the car door and pushed her into the passenger seat. He sat in the driver's seat and said, "You have to face it sooner or later." "Why are you running?" Yi Er leaned on the dashboard in the passenger seat and cried uncontrollably. Qin Fian was a little moved by the sadness in her sobs. It's a little cruel. I don't want to face it. Sister-in-law, but you are my brother's wife. You are the granddaughter-in-law of the Jiang and Qin families. It's not that we want to teach you to forget your mother after you have a husband, but you clearly know who caused my brother to become like this. My brother did not do anything to let your mother down. You have to be fair. Yi Er. She was still leaning on the dashboard and sobbing as she said, I know, Fian, but you can't understand how I feel now. How could she share such feelings with others and let others understand? How could he empathize with someone who was not born in this situation? Qin Fian nodded. Yes, I can't understand because this matter didn't happen to me. Because I have a deep relationship with my brother, but not with Zhou Li. You, my brother and Zhou Li, but you have a different relationship. But I'm sure you know this is different, it is not that I want you to dism's words. Not, I too, it's not to disown, I. If it, I, to, I, if to. Li to, it. To be a. Yi Er kept sobbing as she said, I know. Pain is inevitable. Now you have to understand that if my brother can't be countered, then he really did take bribes. Sister-in-law, I'm not trying to threaten you, nor am I trying to use anything to pressure you. Think about it yourself. If my brother goes to jail, it won't be good for the whole family. Let's just talk about Uncle Yun and Si Jie. If Zhou Li is fine outside, will she treat them well? She can't be as dedicated as my brother. After a long while, Yi Er sat up and sighed. Fian, don't say any more. Help me deal with this matter. I won't get involved, okay? But if Zhou Li is really an accomplice, can you consider? I'll think of a way. Thank you. Because of Zhuang Yichen's intervention, Zhua Hao, and Qin Fian's help, as well as Qin Rongfang and Elder Zhang's secret help, Yuan Shichang and Zheng Ling were interrogated and investigated. Zheng Ling confessed, but said that this matter had nothing to do with Lu Cheng. She had been cheating Lu Cheng of his money to pay off her mother's gambling debts. What was even more surprising was that Yuan Shichang also insisted that this matter had nothing to do with Zhou Li. He said that he didn't know anything about it. Zhou Li even got slapped a few times for defending Yi Er. When Zhou Li found out about this, she cried until she fainted. She always thought that Yuan Shichang hated her and would send her to jail with him. But he took all the blame alone. Qin Fian had promised Yi Er that he would help Zhou Li think of a solution. If Yuan Shichang took all the blame, then he couldn't be bothered to take care of it. It would save everyone a lot of trouble. Chang Li's concubine. Yuan Shichang forced Zheng Ling to frame him. His crime was serious and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Because Zheng Ling's attitude was good, Yi Er didn't ask for an appeal. The original sentence was 5 years with 1 year of probation. If the Yuan family got involved in other lawsuits, they might have a chance to turn the tables. But the people they provoked were the Jiang and Qin families. They could have been sentenced to only 5 years, but their connections didn't work. Instead, the sentence of 10 years was reduced to 20 years. As for the Yuan family, once Yuan Shichang fell, they would basically fall. Many companies would have loans, and the Yuan family was no exception. Zhou Yan wanted to turn the tables, but she was being pushed to her death step by step. She couldn't do anything, and there was no way out. Soon, the bank came knocking on their door. At this time, all the shareholders who were related to them wanted to get a share of the profits. Soon, the Yuan family fell into chaos. The assets were quickly seized and auctioned off by the bank. 9 days. This was a record for the speed of the fall of a wealthy family in Haicheng. And the person who secretly pushed this record was Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao had just been cleared of suspicion, so it was normal. On the day of work, he arranged for people from the Industry and Commerce Bureau and the Tax Bureau to conduct a large-scale investigation of the Yuan family. The newspapers quickly reported the suspicious accounts of the Yuan family every day. They pointed out that the Yuan family had always been suspected of falsifying accounts to deceive shareholders. They also exaggerated the news of Yuan Shichang's imprisonment. The share price fell very quickly. Even if the market opened high and high, the Yuan family's shares were still lying on the floor, motionless. Jiang Zhao felt that he wasn't despicable. At least the methods he used were open and aboveboard. He only dug out the Yuan family's internal affairs for everyone to see. He went through the proper channels and wasn't as despicable as Yuan Shichang. Moreover, if he didn't do this, his grandfather and grandfather would have taken action. The whole thing had been tacitly approved by the two elders in his family. He was also doing this for the sake of the two elders' physical and mental health. He didn't want them to tire themselves when they took action. He was being filial. A wealthy family was suddenly burdened with debt. However, yesterday's prosperity was gone, leaving behind a desolate land. Zhou Yan had always known about the relationship between Zhou Li and Yuan Shichang, but she had never exposed it. Yuan Shichang was too domineering. Back then, it was because Zhou Li married Yun Hongwei that he married her in a fit of anger. She knew that there was no love in this marriage, but she still swallowed her anger and loved that man. Now that there was nothing left, and the man was gone, all the resentment and anger in her heart accumulated. It all came to Zhou Li. The family's assets were seized. Zhou Yan was like Yi Er back then, renting a house outside. However, Zhou Li's house was still there. It was bought by Yuan Shichang back then, and it was under Zhou Li's name. The more Zhou Yan thought about it, the angrier she became. That D*Ned man protected Zhou Li until the end and always left a way out for Zhou Li. She couldn't take it lying down. After Zhou Yan found Zhou Li's house, she pressed the doorbell. When Zhou Li opened the door, Zhou Yan rushed into the house with a pair of large scissors. Zhou Li looked at Zhou Yan's scissors and was so scared that she kept hiding. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Zhou Yan rushed to Zhou Li's bedroom with the scissors. She pulled open the wardrobe and cut randomly. Zhou Li rushed over to stop her, but Zhou Yan picked up the scissors and wanted to stab her fiercely. Zhou Li's arm was cut open, and when she saw the scissors flying towards her again, she didn't dare to move forward. In an instant, the bedroom was filled with shredded clothes. Zhou Li shouted, "Stop cutting! Stop cutting! Stop cutting! These things were bought by Yuan Shichang for you, right? Don't you know about the couple's joint assets? I'm cutting these things now because I have the right to do so. Half of the money he spent on you is mine." Zhou Yan thought of something after cutting the clothes. She ran to the shoe-changing area at the door and pulled open the shoe cabinet. She didn't let go of any boots or sandals. In the end, not a single pair could be worn outside. Seeing that Zhou Li was too timid to stop her, Zhou Yan stood up and laughed. "You woman, I'll see what you'll do if you don't have good clothes and shoes to wear in the future." Zhou Yan was getting weirder and weirder. She held the scissors and slowly walked towards Zhou Li. Zhou Li timidly retreated. They were sisters, but they didn't look alike at all. One was more dignified, while the other was more beautiful. Zhou Yan wasn't beautiful, the beautiful one was Zhou Li. Zhou Li's personality didn't have Zhou Yan's arrogance. She was even a little timid. Women were gentle and made people want to protect them. Zhou Yan pressed on, and Zhou Li retreated in panic. Their expressions were completely different. Zhou Yan revealed her ferocious side. Zhou Li's legs went weak and she fell to the ground. Zhou Yan rushed over and rode on Zhou Li. She pressed her down and used the scissors in her hand to force Zhou Li's face. Zhou Li shook her head but couldn't break free. "Let go of me! Let go of me!" When the scissors made a cut on Zhou Li's white face, Zhou Li screamed in pain. "Ah! My face, my face! Ah ah! My face!" Zhou Yan looked at the blood on Zhou Li's face and laughed. "I told you to use this foxy face to seduce men. Ha, I'll see how you'll seduce men in the future. Ha, you won't have good clothes to wear, you won't have good shoes to wear. Ha, no man will want you. Ha! Come and see." Song Shu 566. Chapter 681. The coolness of Haiqing in March was fading. The clouds above the moon were thinner than in winter. Yi Er was busy in the kitchen in her slippers and home clothes. Jiang Zhao was sitting at the dining table, waiting for dinner. He held a pile of reports in his hands and looked through them carefully. These were the accounts from the dance studio. He still didn't allow Yi Er to go out during this period. After he was investigated and found out that she had gone out to look for clues, he was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. His family must be crazy to do that, right? However, he felt that she seemed to have grown up a little and restrained a lot. That day when she picked him up, she didn't throw herself into his arms until the elders had left. She hugged him and cried bitterly. She touched him all over and asked, "Ah Zhao, have you eaten? Did they hit you? Did they starve you? Did they scare you? Why do I feel that you've lost a lot of weight?" Her tears were like a broken faucet. Looking at her like that, his heart really broke. She had not suffered any hardships during the investigation, but the question she asked made his heart ache. He pressed his thumb on her eyelids, and there seemed to be a puddle there. When he pressed on it, tears flowed out. "You're reading on novel full thanks. You're so silly. I'm not convicting you. It's just a normal interrogation. I've eaten and drunk well. I'm not skinny. I'll weigh myself for you later." Seeing that she was looking up at him in a daze, he hugged her tighter. He leaned down and whispered in her ear, "If you've really lost weight, those 2 kilograms of weight would have been lost when I missed you. You're so annoying. Why are you annoying me again? I just hate you. You hate me, but you're still concerned about whether I've been beaten or starved. I can't wait for you to be beaten and starved. If you're so hungry that you don't have any energy left, you won't say these things." "What did I say? Why are you like this now? Did you put honey on your mouth? Did I? I don't know. Try it. Try it and see if there's honey on it." He picked her up and placed her on the long dining table. His tongue entered her mouth, and she kissed him back even more passionately, saying, "I didn't taste it, I didn't taste it." "Then let's try it a little longer. I've smeared honey all over my body. Hurry up and try it," he said as he unbuttoned his shirt. As Jiang Zhao thought about it, he laughed out loud. Now, he would help her look at the accounts every night and then watch her work on the solution. The next morning, he would draft the overall work and hand it over to her supervisor. His gaze fell on the report again. When the paper was spread out on the table, the pen in his hand wrote down the number where he had seen it. Then, he wrote down the number on another piece of white paper with a note of doubt. Over this period of time, he realized that Yi Er was not suitable for doing business. She was smart and quick-witted, but she was not ruthless enough. She was also not resolute enough when making decisions. Sometimes, she was afraid of offending others. She always felt that if her attitude towards her subordinates was bad, it would affect their mood. Moreover, she liked to let her emotions affect her decisions. It was easy to mix business and personal matters. To put it nicely, she valued relationships. To put it bluntly, she would not be able to achieve great things. Just like the incident with Zhengling. That day, she had wriggled out of his arms and swore that she would never let Zhengling off. Zhengling had caused her so much trouble. If she did not make Zhengling go to jail for the rest of his life, she would always have a knot in her heart. However, on the day that Zhengling was arrested, he confessed to what he had done. Yi Er was angry and wanted to see Zhengling to clarify things. He accompanied her. That day, Zhengling kept his head down and did not look at Yi Er. He only said, "Yi Er, I'm sorry. It's too light of a punishment. Don't come to see me in the future. I don't deserve to be seen by you." Yi Er grabbed his hand tightly and asked Zhengling in a trembling voice, "You didn't tell me when you were in trouble. Instead, you wanted to harm Jiang Zhao. Have you ever treated me as a friend?" Zhengling kept his head down, but both he and Yi Er could see the tears on Zhengling's face dripping down his legs. Zhengling's voice was sorrowful. He did not answer Yi Er. He sighed softly and said, "My mother has always said that I'm a good for nothing. She was always poor. After my father abandoned her, she became even poorer. She would hit me and scold me. There were many times when I wanted to kill her." Sigh, really, there were many times when I wanted to kill her. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be agitated when talking about killing someone. However, Zhengling only sighed and used a regretful tone to describe it. She scolded me for being a good-for-nothing while sleeping with different men to earn money. Then she told me that she was very lucky at playing cards and that she could send me to an elite school. After I went to an elite school, I would find a rich man and I would never have to live a poor life again. When he and Yi Er heard this, they were both shocked. She told me to find a rich man while telling me that rich men were not reliable. She told me to find a reliable one and live a good life after marriage. She told me to go to a good school and get to know some powerful and influential people. She would be able to do twice the work with half the effort in the future. She would never be fooled by a playboy. She was very superficial, but she seemed to know everything. She kept lying to me, but there were a few times when I secretly stood outside the door and did not dare to enter the house. I heard her sleeping with another man inside. I hated her to the core. Really, I hated her so much. How could I have such a mother? When you helped me, she treated you like a bodhisattva. I was so happy because she rarely treated my friends so well. You were my best friend. She treated you well and always cooked your favorite dishes. But later on, your family declined. She did not allow me to interact with you, so I secretly interacted with you. When I wanted to help you, she scolded me. I really hated her to the core. How could I have such a mother? God was very unfair to me. When I wanted to repay her kindness, my mother scolded me every time. She said that I was an ingrate. I was already so old, but she still hit me. Even though I worked hard to earn money so that she could live a good life, she still called me an ingrate. She was very rude. I always scolded her viciously, saying that it was because of her that my father did not want her. Sigh, I hated her, but I also wanted to kill her. Really, sometimes I had forced delusions. I thought that she would suddenly die in a car accident. But when others told me to cut off her arms and legs, I felt that my sky was falling. I felt that I was so cheap. I hated her to the core, but I still wanted to save her. I sold the studio and the house. At first, I even hid it from Lu Cheng, saying that I wanted to buy equipment. I cheated Lu Cheng of his savings, but I did not have enough money. Lu Cheng wanted me to call the police. I did not dare, I really did not dare. I did not dare to imagine how a person like my mother, such a rude and superficial person, would scold people with her hands on her hips. If she lost her limbs, what would she become? Even if she wanted to hit me, it would be impossible. Lu Cheng persuaded me the whole night, but it was no use. He said that in a legal society, we had to call the police. But I could not take the risk. I thought about how I stood outside the door when I was young and listened to her negotiate with other men in the room. After a while, she would give me a large sum of money to pay for my school fees, saying that she had good luck. I thought about it and wanted to just cut off my arms and legs and give them to them. She really did not have a good life. Lu Cheng and I treated me well, but my father did not treat her well for a single day. At least I was happy. I had friends, I had lovers. Yuan Shichang's condition was for me to send the fruit basket to your house. I knew that Jiang Zhao would lose his job, and I knew that you would be in pain. When you told me that day about your and Jiang Zhao's wedding photos, I knew that you would be in pain, but I still did it. Later on, Zhengling did not speak. During this process, she did not sniff or wipe away her tears. She just let the liquid fall on her legs. In this way, her voice was always flat, but later on, the nasal sound became heavier and heavier. He did not see Zhengling's eyes, but he saw Yi Er's eyes. That pair of eyes that swore to skin Zhengling alive slowly lost their hatred. Zheng Ling was coerced into committing a crime, but because it involved the framing of a government official, 5 years was not a long time. But Yi Er said that she did not want to appeal. She even tried to persuade him. She said that people had to learn to forgive. Only by forgiving could they let go. Only by letting go would they not be in pain. She said that they should not be calculative in life. They should just live well in the future. How could he not know that her fallacious reasoning came from somewhere else? If it was an Ouyang Yan, if someone she did not have feelings for really harmed her, she probably would not forgive him even if he slashed her face with a knife. She was a double standard. A woman like her could not do business at all. She valued relationships too much and was too easily moved. Actually, it was also good. She valued relationships and did not want to do big things. It was his fortune to be his wife. Yi Er was wearing an apron and was still humming in the kitchen. He dipped his chopsticks into the soup and put them in his mouth. He smacked and looked at the soup pot proudly and gave it a thumbs up. He could imagine how delicious this soup was. He put down the pen in his hand, got up, and walked over to open the glass door of the kitchen. He hugged her from behind, bent his back, and rested his head on her shoulder. He stretched his neck and sniffed the smoke coming from the pot. Honey, it smells so good. I'm hungry just by smelling it. Let's simmer for another half an hour. After that, we'll eat. I'll go and prepare some vegetables and stir-fry some vegetables. Yi Er dragged a burly man behind him to the sink. As he prepared the spinach, he threw it into a small basin in the sink. However, Jiang Zhao put his hand under her clothes and pressed his thin lips against her neck. His warm breath spilled all over. I'll watch you prepare it. From her waist to her breasts, the man's hands were everywhere. Really, hey, how am I going to prepare it if you're like this? Quickly stop and wait outside. You do yours, and I'll do mine. It's just a division of labor. Ah. Yi Er tilted his head. Division of labor? I'm cooking and you're molesting me. You have the nerve to call this division of labor. Don't turn around. We're by the window. What if the other party sees us? Jiang Zhao, the man's fingers were all ready. His face was extremely red. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 682. Zhou Li escaped from her house. Her heart was swallowed by endless fear. She felt that there were people all around her, and they were all holding large scissors to cut her face. When she left the house, she realized that her car keys were at home. Only then did she realize that she was wearing slippers. Only then did she realize that she did not have a single cent on her. But she did not dare to go back. She was afraid. She was afraid of the house that the man she loved had bought for her. There was a woman inside. She was the man's first wife, her sister, and the person who wanted to kill her. Zhou Li knew that her face was covered in blood. She had to run for her life, but she did not dare to call the police. She was afraid of trouble and was timid. She was afraid that others would say that she deserved it. They would say that she deserved it for stealing someone else's husband. Yes, Zhou Yan had said many times that it was her retribution. She ran out of the neighborhood. There were a few taxis waiting for passengers outside the neighborhood. The green lights on the roof made people excited. Zhou Li ran over and opened the door of the back seat. The driver was shocked when he saw her running into the car like a ghost. He saw the wound on her cheek and quickly asked, "Miss, did you meet a criminal? Do you want me to call the police for you?" Zhou Li's heart was beating wildly in fear, but in the end, she lied. She didn't even dare to look at the front row. Her voice trembled as she said, "No, I was scared by the cat just now. I was hanging on a tree branch." Then where did Miss go? Although the driver was doubtful, he did not ask again. Where did she go? Zhou Li suddenly felt so sad that she did not know what to do. Where did she go? She did not dare to go back to the south. There was no Hu Jincheng, no one to rely on. She did not know where to go. She suddenly realized that she had no one to rely on. At that time, she always felt that she only needed to stay with Hu Jincheng. She loved him and was willing to give up anything. As long as she could be with him, she did not care about anything. Hu Jincheng was very good to her. He listened to her every word, lived a life of luxury, and never neglected her. But now that Hu Jincheng had fallen, Zhou Yan wanted to kill her. After leaving the house, leaving Hu Jincheng, she suddenly realized that she had nowhere to go. Yi Er's shadow swayed in her mind, and the more it swayed, the clearer it became. Mom, 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 Mom. Those shouts suddenly smashed into her eardrums like heavy thunder, shaking her so much that she almost lost her hearing. Miss, where are you going? Jolie leaned against the back of the seat in the front row, crying like a howl. As a noble lady, she had never cried like this before. She would either cry like a pear blossom in the rain to arouse people's pity, or bite her lip to show her dignity. The painted skin of the demons was plastered on her face and body. She was a noble lady, a woman standing beside Yuan Shichang. But now, the way she cried was no longer the woman who stood beside Yuan Shichang. She was now a woman who couldn't even afford to pay for a taxi. She wanted to get out of the car, but when she saw that the woman with messy hair was looking around anxiously, Jolie suddenly slapped the back of the front seat and said, "Driver, hurry up and drive." The 9th mansion. All right, 9th mansion. She stepped on the accelerator and safely left the scene. Jolie frequently looked back at the escape route and felt more and more miserable. Yi Er sat sideways on Jiang Zhao's lap, feeding him mouthful by mouthful. The long table in the dining room was not small. The two of them seemed empty, but because of the intimate atmosphere, it felt warm. She fed Jiang Zhao 2 mouthfuls, while Yi Er ate 1 mouthful. Jiang Zhao hugged Yi Er's waist, his legs swaying gently from side to side. The woman sat on his lap like she was sitting in a cradle. Jiang Zhao said he was too tired and didn't have the energy to eat. He was the one doing the work, so Yi Er was responsible for feeding him. In fact, in Yi Er's mind, she still hadn't changed from Jiang Zhao's personality. She only felt that he was a serious and reserved person. Perhaps it was because of the deep impression of him in the past that she fell into his trap every time he came out. It was impossible to guard against him. Working as a maid, Yi Er didn't have much resentment. Anyway, he ate whatever she put in his mouth. If Yi Er purposely covered his mouth with oil, he would put his mouth on her face and smear the oil all over her face. When the doorbell rang, Jiang Zhao had just taken a big bite. He didn't have time to swallow the food in his mouth before he felt a little irritated. Yi Er said, "I'll go open the door." "Don't go. If we don't go, they won't know we're at home. Don't let anyone disturb us." Jiang Zhao actually didn't like living with a big family. When Yun Hongwei was at home in the past, how could the two of them be so unscrupulously intimate like they were now? It wasn't easy to have such intimate tenderness. No matter what, he didn't want anyone to disturb them. Yi Er was about to respond, but the doorbell rang again. "What if it's something urgent?" "Stop fooling around. Then you have to serve me well tonight." Of course, Yi Er knew what Jiang Zhao meant by serving him well. "Okay. Go ahead." Yi Er wiped his face with a tissue. Jiang Zhao cleaned up the oil on his face and went to open the door with Yi Er. When they opened the door, both of them were shocked. Jolie lowered her head and said in a weak voice, "Yi Er, can you help me pay the taxi fare?" With the injuries on Jolie's face and the way her shoulders were lowered, Yi Er looked like he had been hit by a stick. Like a madman, he opened his mouth to speak but suddenly realized something. Yi Er said hesitantly, "Your face." Jolie lifted her face. She looked so pitiful. Jiang Zhao handed a 100 yuan note to the man standing next to Jolie. The driver handed the change to Jiang Zhao. He didn't pay much attention to it, but he felt that Jiang Zhao looked familiar. He seemed to have seen him often, but he couldn't be sure. After the driver left, Yi Er said, "Come in." Jiang Zhao stepped aside and pulled Yi Er to the side. Zhou knew that Jiang Zhao hated her and didn't even call her mom anymore. But she had nowhere to go. Yi Er was her daughter, so this was the only place she could come. Yi Er knew that he had said a lot of heartless words to Zhou, including that he had nothing to do with her anymore. What's wrong with your face? Yi Er wanted to call her mom, but his mouth felt like he was chewing wax and couldn't say it. Mom has nowhere else to go, Yi Er. Zhou had already changed into her slippers. Yi Er said, let's go to the hospital to treat your wounds first. Zhou nodded. Okay. But Jiang Zhao asked, have you eaten? Zhou said, no. Then let's eat together. Zhou really wanted to go to the hospital, but with Jiang Zhao like this, she didn't dare to make a request. Yi Er seemed to only listen to Jiang Zhao. Thinking about that day, she had rushed into Jiang Zhao's house and slapped him. At this moment, even if she minded the injury on her face, she didn't dare to go against Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao went into the kitchen and took a bowl. He turned on the rice cooker and filled Zhou bowl with rice. He handed it to her and tried to make his tone as gentle as possible. Yi Er made this. It tastes pretty good. Try it. If it were up to him, he wouldn't have let Zhou in at all. But Yi Er's face was stiff, and he was more upset than anyone else. Jiang Zhao and Yi Er sat on one side while Zhou sat opposite them. When he was filling Zhou's bowl with soup, Jiang Zhao said, Yunyi made this. It tastes pretty good. She took a long time to boil the soup. During this period of spring, she was afraid that I would get angry, so she put a luohan fruit in it. There weren't many dishes. For Yi Er and Jiang Zhao, it was just a pot of soup with a meat dish and a vegetable dish. Usually, the two of them wouldn't be able to finish it, but it was just enough for Zhou. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 683. Jiang Zhao introduced every dish to Zhou. As he did so, he was filled with an indescribable happiness. Jiang Zhao knew that his actions were despicable. He just wanted Zhou to feel uncomfortable. He wanted her to see what kind of life he and Yi Er were living. Zhou only dared to eat quietly. For the first time, she felt like she was living under someone else's roof. At night, Jiang Zhao took Zhou to the hospital to treat her wound. She had many requests, but the most important one was that there be no scars. Jiang Zhao smiled. That's impossible. The wound on Yi Er's forehead wasn't this deep. There were still some scars, but it's okay. I don't think it will affect anything. Zhou looked at Yi Er with pitiful eyes. Yi Er then said to the doctor, treat it well. Try not to leave any scars. The doctor said, it's impossible to not leave any scars. We can only use the laser again and again. Yes, Zhou answered eagerly. When Jiang Zhao lowered his eyebrows, a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. On the way back, Zhou said that she didn't have any clothes to change into. Her voice was very soft, but Jiang Zhao still heard it. The car stopped outside the mall, and they went to buy clothes for Zhou together. When Yi Er came back, his face was gloomy. The trunk was full of clothes that Zhou had picked out. Yi Er said a lot of things, but Zhou didn't listen. She said that she had to wear this and that. She bought cosmetics, skincare products, nail polish, and everything was branded. Jiang Zhao followed beside him and kept swiping his card. Yi Er felt that he had never spent Jiang Zhao's money so recklessly before. He really had the urge to kick the tires. When they reached home that night, they arranged for Zhou to stay in the guest room downstairs. Jiang Zhao was sullen after he went upstairs. To him, it was too disappointing. It wasn't that he didn't respect his elders, but he had always thought that he was a very competent and qualified junior. No matter who in the Yun family it was, he didn't let them down. It was true that his father-in-law was a burden to him, but at least his father-in-law knew how to conduct himself. He still hoped that Yi Er would live well, so he was willing to do some things. Si Jia had always been sensible and was always on Yi Er's side. Zhou. He couldn't figure out why he couldn't scold that woman. He wanted to scold her, but it definitely wasn't because of the money she spent today. Yi Er followed behind Jiang Zhao the whole time. She took his clothes and went to the bathroom to adjust the water temperature for him to take a bath. After taking a bath, Jiang Zhao was still unhappy, so he went to bed. Yi Er glanced at her and took her pajamas to take a shower. As the warm water splashed against his body, Yi Er saw the white mist rising around him. He was lost in thought. Find a stick to stand on. Everyone could tell that Jiang Zhao was unhappy today. He was unhappy all the way home, and the reason for his unhappiness was his mother, Zhou Li. Although she didn't have the ability to see through Jiang Zhao completely, at the very least, he was a person who treated his family very well. Whether it was the Jiang family, the Qin family, or the Yun family, as long as they were his family, he would do his best. But she could understand why he didn't like Zhou Li. Jiang Zhao felt a gust of cold air behind him. Then the woman's slender hands and soft body wrapped around him and pressed against him. "Hubby," Yi Er called out in a low voice. Jiang Zhao turned around and hugged Yi Er. "Why are you calling me so sweetly?" "Yeah, didn't you say that I would serve you well tonight? I'm fragrant after a bath. I'm here to let you do whatever you want to me," Yi Er said as she pretended to lower her head shyly. Look at her like this, really, but he liked it. He reached out and sucked her mouth. He kissed her more forcefully and rubbed her harder. Unlike today in the kitchen, the bed was a good place for him to do whatever he wanted. "You only know how to seduce me for no reason." "Yeah, you said that I'm a little fox. Shouldn't this be the time for me to cultivate? If I don't seduce you, who else should I seduce? I have to rely on sucking a man's essence to cultivate. Don't you know? Then you have to be careful. You have to think that you can do it for 80 years. Haha, just as Yi Er let out an unbridled laugh, the man slipped in along the way. Oh, after a round of passion. Yi Er leaned into Jiang Zhao's arms. "Ah Zhao, I'll find a house for my mother tomorrow." "Why?" Yi Er's fingers circled the man's chest. "You and my mother don't get along. Living together will be tiring for her. She's also used to being free. I think you won't understand her behavior, so it's better if we don't live together." "Then what will she think? What if she doesn't agree?" "Huh? Yunyi, Zhou Li won't agree to it. Look at the injury on her face today. Aren't you curious about why it happened? I think it's my aunt who did it." "You guessed it." "Yes, if not, with my mother's personality, she will definitely come and complain." "This matter?" Yi Er lowered her head, her voice was filled with a sense of inferiority. "It will have a bad impact on her." Jiang Zhao hugged Yi Er. "Her matters have nothing to do with you. You don't have to feel burdened. It's not good, you know. Don't always feel that you can't hold your head high in front of me because of her matters. If I care about those things, can we be together? Take it easy." "Yeah, I'll go look for a house tomorrow. If you're unhappy every day, it'll affect your work. Let's ask for her opinion first. It's good that we don't live together, but if she doesn't agree, she's your mother after all. Although she's heartless to you, legally, we have the obligation to support her." Actually, Jiang Zhao's words were the most heartless. Even if the matter was in the past, his mother's heartlessness to him would still make his chest feel stuffy and short of breath when it was mentioned. He nodded and agreed with Jiang Zhao's opinion. The next morning, Yi Er hung up the clothes that Jiang Zhao had ironed last night so that Jiang Zhao could wear them after his morning exercise and shower. The two of them each ran a treadmill. Yi Er was already used to being forced by Jiang Zhao to exercise with him every day. Since resistance was futile, he could only comply. The two of them showered and went downstairs. Yi Er had stuffed the porridge in the pot before his exercise. At this time, he only went downstairs to fry some eggs, make some bread, and make 2 side dishes. Breakfast was very simple, but Jiang Zhao was very satisfied. Although there weren't many types of breakfast, there were slight variations every day. It was a simple day, so it was pretty good. After all the breakfast was laid out and placed on the table, Yi-er went to call Zhou to eat. Zhou was sitting at the table in beautiful clothes. She was holding a bottle of bright nail polish in her hand. Looking at the porridge in front of her, the corner of her mouth twitched. The corner of her mouth twitched in disgust. Is this all you're eating? It's really a simple meal. Yi-er was stunned. Simple meal? Jiang Zhao had never complained that she didn't do well. Zhou unscrewed the nail polish cap as she applied the porridge. A pungent smell filled the air, and one of her nails slowly turned bright red. Jiang Zhao frowned and tightened his grip on his chopsticks. The anger between his eyebrows rose higher and higher. Zhou raised her eyes and glanced at Jiang Zhao. She knew that Jiang Zhao always went along with Yi-er. She could tell when he bought her clothes yesterday. So at this time, she put on the attitude of a mother-in-law. When she spoke to Jiang Zhao, her tone carried a slight reprimand and a hint of mockery. Jiang Zhao, my daughter is only 19 years old. How can you bear to let her eat such things every day? If you don't want to eat out, you can have Haiyue restaurant deliver breakfast. You don't even want to invite a cook. You've got a good deal. You've got a wife, a nanny, and someone to sleep with. You eat so poorly all day long. You really know how to scheme. Bam! The bowl smashed on the table. Crash! The bowl on the table fell to the ground with a shattering sound. The porridge on the table splattered all over Zhou, Jiang Zhao. Yi-er grabbed Jiang Zhao, who had already stood up and his veins were throbbing. Ah Zhao! Jiang Zhao's face was like a metal mask. His arms were strong and powerful. With a flick, he shook Yi-er away. He raised his hand and pointed at Zhou, whose face was still covered in gauze and whose porridge was splattered. He was furious. If you can't *King enjoy this good fortune, then get lost. Awesome novel, Songshu 566.